The cruelest tragedy is not when you are betrayed by your enemies, but when your family denies your very existence on their special day. We'll be dissecting the concept of toxic invisibility through Emily's story. She stood trembling in the sickly yellow dress that her own mother had forced her to wear as a backdrop. Emily realized she had never been family but merely a useful tool. The family's act of removing her name from the wedding photo was not just heartless. It was a deprivation of her individuality, but little did they know this very act of severing family ties would unleash a genius artist. Let's analyze how Emily transformed the ashes of betrayal into her own empire.
Under those fancy crystal lights, the wedding cake was a work of art. 3 tiers of perfect buttercream roses, a masterpiece that took Emily 3 all-nighters to create. But when the photographer starts lining up the family, her mom's arm shoots out like a gate. "Not you!" she snaps, and boom, Emily's entire world cracks open. Right then she gets it. She ain't family, she's the hired help. Invisible. Erased from the pictures at her own sister's wedding by the people who are supposed to love her. Standing in the cold pavement, hearing the party inside, the truth hits her like a truck. She was never their daughter, just a tool to be used. And tonight, that ends. If you've ever wanted to see what happens when you push someone right to the edge, you're in the right place. This is where it all kicks off. That February air was slicing right through her cheap dress. It was this nasty, washed-out yellow. Her mother picked it, of course, knowing it would make her look like a ghost in the pictures. And Emily knew it was deliberate. She'd heard her mom laughing about it with Aunt Carol 3 weeks ago at the bridal shop. "Let Emily wear the yellow," her mom had said, her voice dripping with casual poison. "Who's even gonna look at her? She's just background noise." And there she is, on a concrete wall outside the most exclusive club in town. Black tears are carving tracks down her face as she tries to figure out when it got this toxic. How did she waste 28 years trying to get an ounce of love from people who only saw her as a free laborer? The party music is thumping through the walls. Inside, her little sister Melissa is probably getting her special dance with their dad. The one Emily never got at her own wedding 5 years ago. A wedding her parents flat out refused to attend because they hated her husband, Daniel. Hilarious, right? That marriage imploded in less than 18 months, and the first thing her mom said wasn't, "Are you okay?" It was, "I told you so." The phone feels like a brick in her hand. She's pulled up his number 3 times, and 3 times her thumb has choked. It feels weak, doesn't it? Running to him the second things go south. But things have been going south her entire life, and she's always just smiled through every single knife twist of humiliation, because that's what a good daughter does. Good daughters don't cause trouble. Good daughters bake $1,000 wedding cakes for nothing. They let their siblings take credit for their work. Good daughters wear disgusting yellow dresses and stay silent while their own mothers tell the photographer to literally cut them out of the family. Her thumb finally presses down. The phone rings once, twice. Emily. Just his voice. That's all it takes. It's solid, real. It has this way of making her feel like she's the only person on the planet. "Alex, Her voice completely breaks. "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be calling. I know you're busy. Where are you?" He cuts in. "The River Oaks Country Club. My sister's wedding, but I'm outside. I can't go back in there." The whole story just pours out of her. They introduced the whole family and just skipped right over me, like I wasn't even there. And the cake, Alec. I spent days making this insane cake with all these handmade roses, and then I hear someone ask who made it, and my mom tells them she hired some place called Buttercup Bakery. I just felt like such an idiot. What was I supposed to do? Yell out, Actually, that was me, the family screw-up who plays with frosting for a living. I'm on my way. No, you don't have to do that. Emily, I'm already in the car. Stay put. He hangs up, and this massive knot of relief and shame tightens in her gut. She feels breathless, hating that she needs him this bad, hating that this guy she's known for 6 months has become her only support system. But her family just made it crystal clear tonight. There is no one else. The heavy door behind her swings open, and a blast of Frank Sinatra and Chanel No. 5 hits the cold air. There you are. It's her brother, Marcus, looking like a mess in the doorway. His bow tie is all crooked, and he's barely holding onto a wine glass. Mom's looking for you. Something about cutting the cake. Emily doesn't even turn around. Tell her to cut it herself. Or better yet, tell her to call that bakery she hired. Marcus lets out this hollow laugh, the same dismissive one he's been using on her since they were kids. Relax. Stop being so dramatic. You know how Mom gets at these things. She's just stressed out. She's stressed? Emily's voice is completely dead. Right. I guess that's why she made a point to tell the photographer not to let me in any of the family photos. Stress. You're just being too sensitive. No, Marcus, I'm being deleted, and there is a huge damn difference. He lets out a long sigh, and she can just picture him rolling his eyes. Look, I don't have time for one of your little meltdowns, okay? Melissa's about to throw the bouquet, and Mom wants all the single ladies front and center. So you can either get inside, or you can start explaining to everyone why you're out here pouting. I'm not pouting, I'm leaving. Leaving? His voice gets sharp, real fast. Don't be a moron, Emily. It's your sister's wedding. She finally spins around to face him. Has Melissa even noticed I'm here? Because we haven't said a single word to each other all night. No hello, no hug, nothing. I worked for 3 nights straight on her cake, Marcus. 3. My hands were cramping so bad I had to soak them in ice. I used real vanilla from Madagascar, chocolate from Belgium, and a recipe that took me 2 years to perfect. And when I tried to give her a card, just a card with a check because I can't afford the Tiffany crap she wanted, your wife snatched it and told me to just dump it on the gift pile with the rest of them. Marcus is literally squirming now. Sarah probably didn't mean... Oh, Sarah meant every single word, just like Mom meant it when she bought this dress. And just like Dad meant it when he walked right past me earlier and pretended I didn't exist. Emily stands up, tugging at the awful yellow fabric that makes her look sick in the dim light. I'm done, Marcus. I am so done being the family ghost. You are blowing this completely out of proportion. Am I? A harsh laugh escapes her. Let me ask you this. During the toasts, how did Dad introduce Melissa's new in-laws? The fact that Marcus says nothing is all the answer she needs. He said, "Our daughter, Melissa." Emily pushes, her voice shaking. And then he listed you and Sarah and your kids and Mom and every single bridesmaid and even her freaking college roommate. He talked for 5 straight minutes about all the people in her life, and my name never came out of his mouth. Not once. So tell me again how I'm overreacting. The door opens again. This time it's her mother, Helen, looking perfect in a silk dress that costs more than Emily's rent. Her perfectly made-up face is a mask of pure, put-upon annoyance. Emily, for God's sake, people are starting to stare. You're making a scene sitting out here all by yourself." "Then tell them the truth," Emily says, her voice like steel. "Tell them you have 2 daughters, but one of them is invisible." Helen's face turns to solid ice. "Do not start your little martyr routine. Not tonight. This is Melissa's day, and you will not ruin it with your bottomless pit of drama." "My drama?" Something inside Emily just shatters. A pillar that's been holding her up for years finally gives way. "I made her cake, Mom. I made it for free." 3 tiers! A completely custom job. That cake is worth $2,000, easy. And you told everyone you hired some bakery. "Well, we could hardly tell people that my daughter, the failed baker, made it, could we? What would they think?" The words are so nasty they practically freeze in the air. Emily's jaw drops, but no sound comes out. And right then, she hears it. The crunch of tires on the gravel drive, the slow, heavy roll of a seriously expensive car. Her mother's eyes flick past her, narrowing. "Who is that?" Emily doesn't have to look. She knows that engine. She knows that sound. She knows the way her whole body relaxes just knowing he's close. "That," she says, a slow smile finally spreading across her face, "is my ride." "Your ride?" Helen's voice goes up about 3 octaves. "Emily Dawson, you are not walking out of your own sister's wedding to run off with some man." "Watch me." A car door opens and shuts with a solid thud. Heavy footsteps on the pavement, calm, confident, and coming closer. It's the sound of a man who has never, ever had to second guess if he belonged somewhere. Emily turns, and there he is, Alexander Kane. He looks like he just stepped out of a billion-dollar deal and into her personal apocalypse without even blinking. He's in a dark suit, no tie, and he just radiates this quiet power that makes space for him. At 6'3", with silver at his temples and eyes that miss nothing, he looks like a guy who casually destroys empires before breakfast. So check this out. 6 months ago, this dude wanders into her bakery asking about flavor pairings for lavender. He then lets her go off for 45 minutes about her craft, making her feel like a legit artist instead of the imposter she thinks she is. Flash forward to now, their eyes lock, and Emily sees his whole jaw clench when he clocks her tear-stained face and messed up dress. "Emily." His voice is super calm, a total anchor in the chaos. Then he looks at her mom. "Mrs. Dawson." Helen puffs up her chest, still like 8 inches shorter than Alexander. "I have no idea who you are, but this is a family thing." Alexander Kane. He doesn't even offer a hand. "I'm here for Emily." And bam, you see the light bulb go off in Helen's eyes. Emily knows that look. That's the face her mom makes when she's running a lightning-fast calculation of some guy's net worth, already pivoting her entire game plan. The Kanes you see basically own half of Houston's commercial real estate, with their fingers in everything from oil to tech. This dude is the exact jackpot Helen has been hunting for her entire life. "Oh!" Helen's voice completely flips, suddenly dripping fake honey. "Mr. Kane, what an absolutely delightful surprise. I didn't realize you and my Emily knew each other." "We do." Alexander puts his hand right on the small of Emily's back, a solid, warm anchor through the cheap dress. "And we're leaving." "Leaving?" Helen keeps the smile plastered on, but her eyes go ice cold. "You can't possibly be going before the cake cutting. Emily made it, you know, our little baker." Your little baker, Alexander repeats, super slow and deliberate, has been crying her eyes out by herself because you guys cut her out of her own sister's wedding. So, yeah, we're leaving right now. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Marcus, the brother, steps in, always trying to be the referee. Look, I'm sure this is just a big misunderstanding. I really don't think it is. Alexander's voice is dead even, almost creepily polite, which somehow makes it 1,000 times more threatening. I think Emily has put up with years of being made to feel like nothing by the exact people who were supposed to be her biggest champions. And I think that crap ends tonight. Helen's face goes beet red. How dare you storm into my daughter's wedding and, Mom! Every single person snaps their head around. It's Melissa, the sister, standing there looking like a Disney princess, her eyes darting between them all. For 1 second, this tiny flicker of hope sparks in Emily. Maybe, just maybe, her sister will finally stick up for her, prove there's still some connection there. Mom, Melissa says again, her voice quieter. People are waiting for the cake. Not Emily. Are you okay? Not, what the hell is going on? Just, people are waiting for the cake. And that was it. Emily felt the last piece of her heart just shatter and turn to dust. Cut it yourself, she heard her own voice say. You're pretty good at that, right? Cutting me out. She whipped around and stormed toward Alexander's car, her cheap heels clicking like a countdown on the pavement. Behind her, it was just a wall of noise. Her mom screeching, Marcus trying to calm everyone down, Melissa whining about not making a scene. Alexander was already holding the passenger door open for her. As she collapsed into the cool leather seat, she caught her reflection. Mascara running everywhere, dress a wrinkled mess, eyes all puffy and red. She looked exactly like she felt. Broken. Alexander got in, started the car, no words needed. They pulled away from the country club, leaving her entire family in 28 years of trying way too hard at the rearview mirror. They were almost at the highway before Emily realized she was shaking. I'm sorry, she whispered. I am so, so sorry. I never should have called you. I just... Stop apologizing. But you were probably doing something important, and I just dumped all my drama on you. Emily... He didn't even raise his voice, but the sheer force in it shut her up immediately. You are not drama. You are not an inconvenience, and you are definitely not something I have to deal with. The words hit her like a ton of bricks, solid and real. Then what am I? He was quiet for a long time, just staring at the road, his jaw tight. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. You're the woman whose entire face lights up when she talks about the difference between French and Italian buttercream. You're the person who remembers I drink my coffee black but still gives me crap about it because it's a crime against coffee beans. You're someone who deserves way better than a family that makes you feel like a ghost in your own life. The tears started up again, rolling down her cheeks, but these felt different. Not tears of breaking down, but of letting go. I made her cake, she choked out, her voice a ghost. 3 tiers. It was a champagne cake with raspberry filling and vanilla bean buttercream. I spent 6 hours piping on sugar roses. And she didn't even look at me tonight, not once. I know. You... How could you know? Because for 6 months, I've watched you absolutely destroy yourself trying to get them to notice you. every Sunday dinner you come back from looking totally wrecked. Every family party where you bring some masterpiece and they don't even say thank you. Every phone call where your mother calls you her creative one like it's some kind of disease. His knuckles went white on the steering wheel. I know, because I've watched you fold yourself up into smaller and smaller pieces, just trying to fit into a space they were never going to make for you. Emily just zoned out, watching the Houston skyline drift by, just a bunch of faraway lights in a huge, dark void. When did it start? Alexander's question was quiet, but it landed like a punch to the gut. When did you first realize they didn't love you the way they loved your siblings? The raw honesty of it stung. I don't know, she confessed. Maybe it was always this way. Marcus was the golden boy from the jump. Star quarterback, straight A's, full ride to Rice. Melissa was the baby doll, the little princess who could do no wrong. I was just the one in the middle, the creative one, the one with paint on the furniture and flour in her hair, who cared more about a recipe than studying for the SATs. And they made you pay for it. Not really pay, more like invisible or managed. My mom used to tell people I was finding myself when they asked what I did, as if being a baker wasn't a real job, as if spending 4 years training at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris was just some dumb phase. She rubbed her eyes, smearing makeup all over her hand. When I got back and opened my bakery, my own dad asked when I was getting a real job. Marcus said I was throwing my degree away. Melissa asked if I could just make her wedding cake for free, since I clearly wasn't busy with anything important. The muscle in Alexander's jaw was practically vibrating. And you said yes. Of course I said yes. She's my sister. I thought... Emily's voice cracked. I thought if I could just make it perfect enough, if it was spectacular enough, they would finally see me, like actually see me. And instead, he finished for her, they cropped you out of the family pictures. The cold, hard truth of that just settled over her like a lead blanket. He pulled up to her apartment, a basic walk-up in Montrose she could barely afford even working 6 days a week. Alexander put the car in park, but kept the engine on. You want to know what I see? He asked. Emily just shook her head. Don't. I see someone who built a business from scratch. Someone who trained under Jacques Mercier, one of the best pastry chefs in the world, and brought that skill back home to share. I see someone who creates edible art that people love but have no clue about the insane skill it takes. He turned in his seat to look right at her. I see someone who's brilliant and kind and so damn convinced she's not worth anything that she lets small, mediocre people make her feel even smaller. They're my family. They're people who share your DNA. That is not the same thing. Emily felt like she was standing at the edge of a terrifying cliff. Her whole life was built on one single idea. Blood is thicker than water, that you owe your parents for existing, that you have to love your siblings even when they treat you like you're the help. But sitting here in Alexander's car, with her dress ruined and her face a mess, Emily couldn't think of one single time her family had made her feel the way she did in this exact moment. Seen, safe, worth a damn. I don't know how to let go, she admitted. They're all I have. No, Alexander said, his voice gentle. They're all you've ever let yourself have. There's a huge difference. He was right. Some part of her knew he was totally right. but knowing something and actually living it are on two different planets. Come on! Alexander killed the engine. Let's get you upstairs. You don't have to. Emily. The look he gave her was non-negotiable. Stop trying to take up less space than you deserve. They walked up the 3 flights of stairs to her apartment in total silence. So she's fumbling with her keys, totally bugging out about how her tiny, beat-up apartment must look to this dude who probably lives in a skyscraper. We're talking 1 bedroom, a kitchen you can't even spin in, and furniture that screams, I'm broke. But it's her spot. Alexander just walks in, no judgment. She's waiting for him to bolt. But instead, he just drapes his crazy, expensive suit jacket over a sad-looking armchair. He points to the couch and goes, Sit, I'll make tea. She tries to argue, but he shuts it down. Emily, if you say, you don't have to one more time, I will lose my mind. Where's the kettle? And against all odds, she actually laughs. Cabinet by the stove. Tea's in the tin next to it. She flops on the sofa and just watches this guy navigate her cramped kitchen like a pro. He finds everything. Cups, tea, even the honey she hides on the top shelf. He moves with this insane confidence, zero hesitation, nothing wasted. How are you so chill? She asks him. Chill with what? Just doing things, deciding and then just doing it. No second-guessing, no worrying about what people think. Alexander pours the hot water, and the whole tiny apartment starts smelling like chamomile. I blew my 20s trying to please my father. I built his business, dated his pics, lived his pre-planned life. He tells her about a death that basically killed the fake version of himself he'd been playing for a decade, a total stranger. He hands her the tea. Their fingers touch for like half a second. So I just quit, he says, sinking into the armchair. Stopped the act, stopped faking it, and started building a life I actually cared about, not one that got applause. The real people, they stuck around, the fakes vanished, and I learned to let them go. Just like that? She whispers. Nah, it was brutal, a total nightmare. I questioned every single decision 1,000 times, but yeah, in the end, I picked myself over their approval, which is the same choice you have to make. Emily just hangs onto that warm cup like a lifeline. But what if I choose wrong? It's never the wrong choice, he says, his voice super steady, when you're choosing yourself over the people who hurt you. Those words didn't just land, they hit her like a ton of bricks. They just sit there for a while, drinking tea in silence, while the city buzzes outside her window, sirens, music from a car, the whole Houston nightlife soundtrack. Finally, Alexander gets up. I should go. Give you some space. Thank you, Emily manages to say. For tonight? For everything? He pauses at the door, hand on the knob, then looks back. 6 months ago, I walked into a small bakery because I heard they had the best croissants in Houston. The woman behind the counter looked at me like I was a human being, not a business deal. She asked me what I was celebrating, because who buys croissants at 2 in the afternoon unless something amazing happened? Then she went on for 20 minutes about the science of perfect dough. His eyes lock on hers, and there's a whole conversation happening without a single word. That woman was a genius, full of passion, and had no clue how incredible she was. And I've spent every day since then trying to show her the person I see. Emily's throat closes up. I'm not expecting a thing, Alexander says, his voice soft. I know you're in the middle of a war right now. You don't need more pressure. But you need to get this. You are not invisible. You are not worthless. And you are damn sure not someone who deserves to be treated like garbage by the people who were supposed to love you the most. He's gone before she can even think of a reply. Emily just sits there, alone in her apartment, still stuck in that god-awful yellow dress, and the reality of the night just crashes down on her. 28 years of trying to be good enough, of making herself smaller to fit in, of taking scraps and pretending it was a feast, all for nothing. Her phone buzzes, ruining the quiet. A text from Marcus. Mom's a wreck. You really embarrassed the family tonight. Then her mom. I expect an apology. You ruined Melissa's wedding with your little tantrum. And Melissa. I can't believe you just left. So selfish. Emily just stares at the screen, waiting for the guilt trip to kick in, that knee-jerk reaction to say sorry and make it all better. But all she feels is this deep, crushing exhaustion. She's tired of apologizing for existing, tired of trying to earn love that should have been free, tired of being a ghost. She opens a new text to Alexander. Thank you for seeing me. He replies instantly, I'll always see you. Get some sleep. Emily puts her phone down, kicks off the yellow shoes of doom, and heads to her bedroom. Tomorrow is for figuring out the next move, for the terrifying job of building a life that isn't about begging for scraps from people who decided she wasn't worth it a long time ago. But tonight she just lets herself shatter because sometimes you have to break completely to put yourself back together the right way. And Emily Dawson was done being broken by people who never even bothered to look at all the pieces. The next morning, Emily wakes up with her face glued to her pillow and her phone going ballistic somewhere by her feet. Sunlight is stabbing through the blinds. And for one sweet second, she remembers nothing. Then it all floods back. The wedding, the yellow dress, her mom's shocked face when Alexander dropped truth bombs for the whole world to hear, and the text messages that came after, each one a little stab meant to make her feel guilty. The phone buzzes again. For a second, she has a legit urge to chuck it out the window. Instead, she fishes it out of the sheets. 17 missed calls, 32 texts, mostly mom, some from Marcus, one from Melissa that just says we have to talk. Emily deletes every single one without reading them. Then she calls in sick to her own bakery for the first time in 3 years. Her assistant manager, Jenna, picks up, already sounding stressed. Please tell me you're on your way. The Morrison order is for 11 and I can't find the raspberry coulis. Walk in, back left corner, it's labeled. Emily's voice sounds like gravel. Jenna, I need you to handle things today. Maybe tomorrow. I just can't. There's a pause, then Jenna's voice softens. Are you okay? Not really, she whispers, but I will be. Take all the time you need. We got this. Emily hangs up and just stares at the ceiling, trying to remember the last time she just stopped. Not sick, not an accident, just stopped because she needed to breathe. That bakery was her whole life. Up at 4, prep till 6, bake till 2, clean till 4, pass out, repeat. Sundays were for family dinners where she'd show up exhausted and her mom would ask why she looked so tired, like running a business was just a cute little hobby. Her phone rings again, unfamiliar number this time. Hello? Ms. Dawson? The voice is female, sharp and professional. This is Patricia from Occasions Magazine. We're running a feature on Houston's up-and-coming culinary talent, and your name was mentioned. Got a few minutes for a potential interview? Emily sits up so fast the room goes dark for a second. I'm sorry, what? We want to feature Sweet Haven Bakery in our spring issue. We've heard amazing things about your work, especially your European style. Would you be free for an interview next week? We'd also send a photographer. This has to be a prank. People like Emily don't get into magazines. Can I ask who suggested me? It was Alexander Kane, actually. He's on our advisory board and brought you up in our last meeting. Said you're one of the best pastry chefs in the city, and we were blowing it if we didn't cover you. Of course, Alexander. Emily actually smiles despite everything. Yes, I'd love to do the interview. They set it for next Tuesday, and when she hangs up, she feels something new, not hope, that's too weak, more like a possibility. Then her phone buzzes, a text from Alexander. So, how you holding up? Emily typed out and then nuked 3 different drafts before just going with, the magazine hit me up. I know you're the reason why. Yeah, that was me. You're good. People need to see it. Thanks. Stop saying thanks for me stating facts. Did you eat yet? Em glanced at the time. Almost noon, and her stomach was just a twisted, useless knot. Not yet. Lunch is on me. I'm 20 minutes out. She really should have said no, should have told him she was fine, that he didn't have to keep playing hero, that she was perfectly capable of feeding herself. But the thought of being cooped up in her apartment alone all day, dodging her family's calls and just drowning in her own head, suffocating. Okay. Emily forced herself into the shower, staying under the boiling water until her skin glowed red. After she finally got out, wrapped in a beat-up old robe with her hair dripping all over, she saw a text from Marcus. Mom says you need to apologize to Melissa. Call her. Emily chucked her phone onto the bed and hunted for some real clothes. She was wrestling with her jeans when someone knocked. 3 quick, sharp raps. Had to be Alexander. Emily swung the door open, and there he was, holding 2 bags from her go-to Vietnamese spot, looking way too put together in dark jeans and a white button-down, sleeves rolled up. You remembered, she breathed, staring at the food. You told me 3 months ago their pho is the only cure for a trash day. And I'm guessing last night qualifies. He slid past her, dumping everything on her little kitchen table. Got you spring rolls too, since you always order them. Pretend you're too stuffed to eat 'em, and then smash the whole plate when you think I'm not looking. Emily felt her neck get hot. I do not. You 100% do. Alexander started laying out containers, and the whole apartment filled with the smell of broth and fresh herbs. Sit. Eat. So bossy. And you love it. He wasn't wrong, but no way was Emily ever going to say that out loud. They ate in a pretty chill silence for a bit, while Emily torched her tongue on soup she couldn't even taste past the numbness from last night. Alexander just watched her with that intense focus of his, the kind that made her feel like he could see right through her and also left her feeling totally exposed. Your mother called me this morning, he finally said. Emily's spoon banged against the bowl. What? Twice? Left 2 voicemails, all about how I'd embarrassed her family and was wrecking my own reputation by hanging out with unstable people. His face was pure stone, but you could see something cold and angry flickering in his eyes. The second message basically hinted that if I really knew the whole story, your history of dramatic episodes, I'd get that she was just trying to protect everybody. Oh my God. Emily buried her face in her hands. I am so, so sorry. She had no right. Emily, look at me. She forced her eyes up to meet his. Alexander's voice was dangerously quiet. Your mother is a grandmaster at this game, and she's spent your whole life teaching you that your feelings are a problem and your needs are selfish. Now she's trying to pull the same crap on me because you finally did something she couldn't control. You walked out. Even worse, you found someone who sees right through her whole act. She tried to defend her. She's not. But the words just died. Because wasn't she? Wasn't that her mother's entire playbook? Rewrite history, spin the story, make Emily doubt her own sanity until she was begging for forgiveness for stuff she never even did? What did you say to her? Emily's voice was a ghost. I told her that my relationship with you is completely off limits to her, that her little show last night was pathetic, and if she contacted me again, my lawyer would be in touch about harassment. Emily's eyes went wide, total shock. You're messing with me. Not even a little bit, he said, and then I blocked her number. Alexander casually took a bite of a spring roll. Actually, I blocked your entire family. Life's too short to waste time on calls from people who treat you like you're worthless. Just gone. Just gone. Emily could only stare at him. This guy who walked into her bakery 6 months back and somehow became the only solid ground in her world that was always shaking. It started out so simple, just a baker and her customer. He'd grab a croissant, ask about how she made it, and little by little she found herself able to breathe again, to actually talk instead of just serve. Before long, he was a regular, always showing up in the slow hours when the bakery was empty, and their chats went from pastry techniques to literally everything else. They talked about books, about places they wanted to see, about the insane pressure of family expectations, and the pure guts it takes to build your own life when everyone expects you to fail. She never planned on falling for him, never saw it coming, the way her heart would slam against her ribs when he walked in, or how one of his rare smiles felt like finding buried treasure. But somewhere between arguing about the chemistry of a perfect meringue and late-night texts about absolutely nothing, Emily had completely fallen into a territory she had no idea how to navigate. And the scariest part? He looked like he was falling right there with her. Why do you even care? The question just slipped out. About me, I mean. You could have anyone. You've got the money, the power, She kind of waved her hand at all of him. You. And I'm just a baker who can't even get her family to pretend they like her. Alexander set his chopsticks down and leaned forward, his focus locked on her. 6 months ago, I walked into your shop because my assistant said you guys had decent coffee. I was running between meetings, totally drained, operating on 3 hours of sleep after closing a deal in Singapore all night. You took one look at my face and said, "You look like you need something stronger than caffeine. When was the last time you ate a real meal?" Emily remembered it. This insanely powerful, hot guy in a suit that cost more than her rent, looking completely hollowed out, and her instincts just took over. I made you sit down. She remembered, her voice soft. I brought you soup and bread from the back. You looked like you were about to pass out. You did, he said. Then you lectured me that money can't buy health. And if I kept running myself into the ground, I'd be dead before 50, just like every other ambitious moron with more drive than brains. A tiny smile played on Alexander's lips. No one had talked to me like that in years, like I was a person, not a position. So he kept coming back the next day and the day after that, because being around her felt like being with someone who was completely real. "I'm a train wreck," Emily whispered. "You're a person. Huge difference." He reached over the table, his thumb tracing the line of her knuckles. "You want to know why I care? Because for the first time in a decade, you made me feel like I could just exist without putting on an act. Because you get my terrible jokes and you call me on my crap and you see me as more than just a walking wallet." His grip on her hand tightened. "Because you're brilliant and kind and you look for the best in everyone except yourself." Emily felt the burn of tears behind her eyes. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "Let someone actually care. Every single person who was supposed to love me has treated me like I'm disposable. What if I am? What if that's all I get?" "Emily, eat." "No, for real. What if they're right? What if I'm just too much, too emotional, too dramatic, impossible to love? My ex-husband said the exact same things my mother does. That I overreact, that I make everything about me. That I'm just exhausting to be with." Her voice cracked. "What if that's just who I am?" Alexander's jaw clenched. "Did your ex tell you this before or after he banged his coworker?" Emily flinched like he'd slapped her. "I'm not trying to hurt you," he said, his voice going softer. "But you're doing it again. You're taking the hit for their trash character. Daniel was a small man who married you because your light made him look good. Then he started to resent you for it because he couldn't stand being in your shadow. Your family is so obsessed with their perfect public image that your success on your own terms is a direct threat to their narrative. Both of those things are 100% about them, Emily. They have nothing to do with you. You make it sound so simple." "It's not simple. It's just clear there's a difference." He gave her hand one firm squeeze and then let go. "But you have to decide who you're going to believe, them or me, because you can't have a foot in both worlds. Either you're the problem, the dramatic, draining, oversensitive one, or they are. And only one of those realities gives you a shot at actually living instead of just surviving." On pure instinct, Emily pulled her knees to her chest, curling up into a ball on her own couch. Alexander saw it. Of course he did. A flash of pain crossed his face. "I'm scared," she admitted into her knees. "If I cut them off, if I really do it, I'll have nobody." "You'll have yourself," he said gently. "And you'll have me if you want me. You'll have Jenna, who called me last month to check if I knew you were skipping meals during wedding season. You'll have half your customers who ask about you like your family." He paused. "You are not alone, Emily. You've just been trained to think that the only people who matter are the ones who cause you the most pain." Her phone buzzes. It's the matriarch calling again. Emily just lets it ring out. Total silence. "I don't think I can do this," she mutters. He fires back. "Then use my strength till you get your own." They just sit there, the sun making patterns on the wall, and you can almost feel this 28-year-old knot in her gut finally start to give a little. Look, it's not gone. One chat isn't gonna delete a lifetime of programming, but maybe, just maybe, she can actually breathe now. Then, out of nowhere, Alexander asks, "Tell me about Paris." Emily's like, "What about it?" "You trained there for 4 years. In 6 months, you've mentioned it like 3 times, and you always act like it was nothing." But you were Jacques Mercier's apprentice, and that dude doesn't take on just anybody. So spill. Tell me about Paris. And what do you know? A tiny smile actually breaks through. You seriously want to hear this? Wouldn't have asked if I didn't. So she tells him everything. The shoebox apartment where everyone shared supplies and worked all night just to get a croissant right. She talks about Mercier, this total genius maniac who once chucked a whole tray of macarons because they were 3 millimeters off spec. She's walking the Seine after 16-hour days, smashing street crepes, and feeling more like herself than she ever did back home. So why'd you come back? Alexander asks. The million-dollar question. Dad had a heart attack. Mom called, said they needed me, that I was being selfish, living my life halfway across the world while he was sick. The smile is gone, wiped clean. So I came home. I stayed. By the time he was fine, I'd already dropped a deposit on the bakery. It just felt too late to hit the eject button again. And you regret it? I regret buying the lie. It wasn't some huge emergency. It was a minor thing. Totally manageable with pills. But my mother sold it like a death sentence. So I panicked. I torched my final year, bailed on my friends, and abandoned the entire life I was building. She just shakes her head. When I landed, the first thing my dad says is that he never even asked me to come home, that I should have stayed to finish my training. And my mom just called me theatrical for freaking out over some pastry school when the family was in crisis. Alexander cuts right through it. So they played you to ditch your entire future and then guilt-tripped you for doing exactly what they wanted. Yeah. A laugh cuts out of her, but it's got zero humor. That's pretty much the size of it. And you built this place anyway? Had to do something with all that training. And I had this stupid idea that if I build something successful right here, something they could literally point to and brag about, then maybe they'd finally be proud. Are they? Emily flashes back to her mom telling people she catered a wedding cake. Her dad asking when she'll get a real job. Her brother calling her entire life's work a cute little hobby. No, she says, her voice barely a whisper. They're embarrassed by me. They always have been. Alexander goes dead silent for a minute. What would you do? He asks. If you could do anything. Money's no object, nobody's opinion matters but yours. That's not reality. I didn't ask what was realistic. I asked what you would do. Emily closes her eyes, and for 1 second, she lets herself actually dream. No expectations, no fear of judgment. I'd go back to Paris, she whispers. Or somewhere new. Copenhagen, Tokyo, Sao Paulo. I'd want to train under other masters, soak up their techniques, push myself in ways I just can't hear. You can see it in her eyes. And when I came back, I'd build something bigger. Not just a bakery, a whole world. Pastries, sure, but also classes. A place for people to create, not just consume. Her eyes snap open, the dream vanishing. But it's a fantasy. I can barely keep this place from going under. And why is that? Because I charge way too little, and I'm a free-for-all catering service for family who never pays up. The truth just comes pouring out. A floodgate breaks. Just in the last year, I did the cakes for Marcus's kid's birthday, my cousin's baby shower, Melissa's engagement party, my aunt's retirement, and probably 5 other events I'm blocking out right now. All for free, 'cause you don't charge family, right? Except the bills for flour, rent, and electricity don't give a damn about family, so I'm here 7 days a week just to break even. Alexander's face goes completely still, stone cold. Give me a number. What did all that free labor cost you in materials and time? Emily does the math in her head and almost pukes. Maybe. $12,000. 15. And what was their initial investment to get you started? Nothing. Mom said it was super important I do it myself, to learn responsibility. She stops, the memory clearly a slap in the face. Of course, she had no problem giving Marcus $50,000 to dump into his buddy's tech startup, and they paid for Melissa's entire wedding, the whole thing. Obviously, Alexander says, his voice pure ice. A pathetic need to defend them bubbles up. They're not bad people. They just what, Emily? Drain your bank account while calling your career a hobby? Demand your professional skills for free while giving nothing back? Do they make you feel small so they can feel big? Alexander's on his feet now, way too much energy for one small room. Emily, I've seen financial abuse. I know what it looks like. What they're doing to you. That's not love. It's exploitation. What? The word smacks her right across the face. That's not. They wouldn't. Wouldn't they? He stops, staring her down. Let me ask you something. When's the last time your brother or sister called just to see how you are? Not to ask for something, but just to check in. Emily opens her mouth. Nothing. She scrolls back through months of text messages and empty family dinners. The search comes up with nothing. When did your mother last say thank you? The silence in the room is massive. When did your father last say he was proud of you? And that's it. Something inside her just shatters. Stop. I'm not trying to hurt you. Well, you are. She's standing too, hugging herself like she's trying to keep from falling apart. You're just saying all the stuff I already know, the stuff I push down every single day, and you're saying it out loud and making it real. And I don't. I can't. In 3 steps, Alexander crosses the room and just pulls her into his arms. She resists for maybe half a second before she completely breaks, burying her face in his shirt while years of unspoken truths just pour out in these raw, ugly sobs. He doesn't try to quiet her. No empty platitudes. He just holds on. He just holds her while she completely comes apart at the seams. One of his hands is just the steady, warm weight on her back. The other is holding her head like she's made of glass. I hate them, Emily chokes out. I hate that some part of me still thinks if I just try harder, do more, make myself even smaller. I know. It's so pathetic. It's human, his voice rumbles right through her. You can't logic your way out of needing your family's love. The heart doesn't work like that. Then how does it work? You grieve, he says. You feel every last bit of it. The anger, the sadness, all of it. And little by little, the wanting gets smaller, quieter. It never goes away, but it stops being the thing running your life. Emily pulls back just enough to look at him through her tears. So, is that what went down with your old man? A dark cloud just rolls over Alexander's face. They never talk about his dad. All Emily knows is the guy was a total control freak, impossible to please. Alexander burned years trying to get a crumb of approval before finally just walking away. Yeah, he says, his voice dropping low. It took me 5 years after he was gone to stop having fake arguments in my head where he finally said he was proud. And another 3 to get that. It was never gonna happen, not even in my imagination, because he just wasn't wired to give me the one thing I ever wanted. That's seriously messed up. No, it's freedom, he fires back. The second I accepted nothing I did would ever be good enough for him was the second I stopped trying to be. I started living for myself. His thumb just swipes across her cheek, clearing a path through the tears. Best call I ever made. Without even thinking, Emily just melts into his touch. I don't think I'm that brave. You're way braver than you think. You hit me up last night instead of just letting it all swallow you whole. You nuked their messages this morning instead of getting sucked back into their drama. You're already in the fight, Emily. One move at a time. Her phone buzzes again. Melissa. Emily stares at the screen, feeling that old instinct kick in. Answer, placate, say sorry for whatever she did wrong this time. But instead she smashes decline and powers the whole thing off. There, she whispers, her voice shaking a little. How's that for brave? A real smile hits Alexander's face, the kind that makes his eyes crinkle up. It's a start. They kill the rest of the afternoon at her place, doing a whole lot of nothing. While she's telling him about some magazine interview, Alexander is helping her clean up the lunch mess. They argued about whether butter or oil makes a better cake. She knew he was dead wrong, but let him think he had a shot. And when the sun started to dip and he finally said he should bounce, Emily felt the sting of him leaving before he even moved. Thanks, Cha, she said at the door. For lunch, for listening, for not booking it when my family went full-on psycho last night. Emily. The way he says her name makes it sound like a big deal. I'm not going anywhere. I don't give a damn how messy this gets. You say that now. I say it 'cause I mean it. He dips his head, locking his eyes on hers and refusing to let go. I've spent 6 months getting to know you, the real you, not the polished PR version you put on for people who will never get it. And that person. She's worth fighting for, even if she can't see it yet. He kisses her forehead, quick, soft, but it leaves her skin buzzing, and then he's gone. Emily throws the deadbolt and leans against the door, her heart hammering against her ribs like a drum solo. Her mind is going a mile a minute. She turns her phone back on. 23 new texts, 11 missed calls, and where there's normally a jolt of pure anxiety, now there's just exhaustion. She was just tired, sick of the act, sick of making herself small, sick of letting people who didn't value her set her price tag. So Emily did something she had never, ever done before. She opened the family group chat, her fingers hovering over the screen, and typed out a message. I need some space. Please don't contact me for a while. I will reach out when I'm ready. Then, before the doubt could sabotage the mission, she hit send. The replies were instant. Her mom demanding a damn explanation. Marcus calling her dramatic. Melissa straight up accusing her of being selfish and cruel. Emily muted the entire conversation and slapped her phone face down on the counter. Then she marched to her bedroom at 7:30, yanked the covers over her head, and crashed for a solid 14 hours. When she finally woke up, the world hadn't exploded. The sun was still doing its thing. Houston was still making its usual noise outside her window. And Emily Dawson, for the first time in her life, felt this tiny, fragile hint that maybe, just maybe, she could exist in the world without constantly saying sorry for it. It wasn't a total victory, but it was a start. Emily walked back into her bakery 3 days later, feeling like she'd been hit by a freight train, that she somehow survived. Jenna takes one look at her face, says absolutely nothing, and immediately starts brewing a new pot of coffee. This is exactly why Emily hired her 2 years ago. The girl has killer instincts. That big cinnamon order went out, no problems. Jenna says, sliding a hot mug over the counter. The raspberry stuff was right where you said it'd be. And we locked in 2 new custom gigs. One's for a 50th anniversary party. The other is some huge corporate event downtown. Good. That's good. Emily wrapped her hands around the warm mug, breathing in the smell of her own personal HQ. Flour, sugar, and a hint of yesterday's vanilla. This little shop was hers in a way nothing else in her life ever was. She built it from scratch with her own 2 hands, running on nothing but a stubborn refusal to quit when everyone told her to be more realistic. You good, boss? Jenna was leaning on the pastry case, legit concern in her eyes. Getting there. Emily took a big sip, burning her tongue. Did anyone call for me? Your mom. Twice. I just told her you were unavailable. Jenna waits a beat. She was not happy. She never is. Emily put the mug down. Thanks for running interference. I know this was all super last minute. You've never taken a sick day, not once. I figured it had to be a big deal. Jenna hesitates. Your sister's wedding? Emily had mentioned it weeks ago, just a quick complaint about the monster cake she'd been suckered into making. She just nods. Want to download about it? Not even a little bit. Yo, got it. Well, we've got the prep list for the anniversary cake, and I already started on the corporate order. 3 dozen mixed pastries due Saturday. She wipes down the counter. Oh, and some dude stopped by yesterday. Was asking about private lessons. Emily blinked. Lessons? Yeah, said he wanted to learn proper French technique. Left his card. From behind the register, Jenna slides a business card across the counter. Said he seemed on the level, that he'd pay whatever her rate was, no haggling. Emily picked it up. The card felt heavy, legit, simple, classy. David Chen. Underneath the name, just a phone number and an email. No company, no job title. She stuffs it in her apron pocket, turning back to her work, letting the old rhythm of measuring and mixing push all the drama to the side. By noon, she's got 4 cake layers prepped and 2 batches of buttercream whipped up. She's elbow deep in a bowl of dark chocolate ganache when the little bell over the door chimes. She doesn't have to look. She knows it's Alexander. His presence is a physical thing, like the air pressure in the room just shifted. You're back, he says, his voice quiet. Couldn't stay in your bunker forever. Emily risks a look over her shoulder. He's standing right inside the door, looking unfairly handsome in dark pants and a simple gray sweater. Shouldn't you be running an empire or something? She asks. It's called delegating, a revolutionary concept. He walks up to the counter, his eyes scanning her face like he's looking for stress fractures. How are you? For real? Honestly, I have no freaking clue. Emily turns back to her ganache, whisking way too hard. I keep waiting for the big wave to hit, relief, anger, grief, something, but it's just nothing. Just empty. Like I used up all my emotions and now there's just a blank space where they used to be. Totally normal. That's shock. And is there an ETA on when I stop feeling like I'm watching a movie about my own life? A couple weeks, maybe more. Depends on how much you let it in instead of burying it. He leaned on the counter, closing the gap until she could smell his cologne, clean, woodsy, and making her want to just give in. Have they tried to make contact? Jenna says my mother's called the shop twice. That's on top of the 73 messages on my phone I'm ignoring. Emily scraped the ganache into a bowl to cool. And Marcus swung by my apartment last night. Alexander's entire vibe shifts. His body goes on full alert. What did he do? I just didn't open the door. He knocked for what felt like 10 minutes, then shoved a note under it. Something about me tearing the family apart. That mom was having chest pains from all the stress. She wiped her chocolate-covered hands on her apron. I threw it out before I even finished it. Good. It doesn't feel good, she admitted. It feels cruel. You're building a boundary. To someone who's never had to deal with one, it's always gonna feel like an attack. Alexander reached over the counter, his hand grabbing hers, his grip solid and warm. Model, but you're doing it, and that takes a hell of a lot of strength. Emily wants to believe him so bad. To feel strong, not just tired and gutted by guilt, feeling sick every time she even thinks about her phone, and the messages piling up like accusations. Then the shop bell rings. A real customer. A lady in yoga pants talking about a birthday cake. Emily pulls away from Alexander and the pro baker mask just slides right back on. She's talking flavors and fondant and delivery times like she wasn't just having a complete meltdown 3 seconds ago. After the lady leaves, deposit paid, Alexander is still there, just watching her with this insane intensity, like he can see right through her. What? Emily finally snaps. You're very good at this, he says, this part, making the customers feel heard. It's my job. It's more than a job. You make them feel like their little party actually matters. He cocks his head. You do that for every single person, everyone except yourself. Emily starts wiping down a counter that's already perfectly clean. So what's the deal? You here for a reason or just to hand out free therapy sessions? Both. Alexander reaches into his jacket, pulls out an envelope, and slides it across the counter. Open it. If this is some kind of pity money, it's not money, just open it. Emily dries her hands super carefully, then rips it open. Inside, 1 plane ticket, Houston to Paris, departure in 2 weeks. The return date is blank. Her brain just short-circuited. What in the world is this? Alexander's voice was dead calm, a total power move. You said if you could do anything, you'd go back to Paris. You'd train with the best, level up your skills. He slides the ticket over. So, go! She's bugging out. I can't just, Alexander, this is nuts. I've got a business, responsibilities. I can't just ditch my entire life. You're not ditching anything. Jenna's got the shop on lock. Already ran it by her. Emily's head snapped up, eyes wide. You did what? She hit me up yesterday, said you've been grinding yourself to dust for years, and that if anyone deserved a break, it was you. She asked me to step in. He shrugged. So this is me stepping in. By buying me a plane ticket to another continent without asking. By giving you an option, a way out. You don't have to take it, but the door's open. Emily just stared at the ticket, this insane, terrifying hope blowing up in her chest. Paris, the city she bailed on because her family needed her. Spoiler, they never needed her. They just needed her on a leash. I can't pay for this, she whispered, the excuse sounding pathetic even to her. It's not a loan. It's a gift. Alexander, stop! Don't say another word, just... That's when he moves. Comes around the counter, cornering her against the prep table. No escape. I have more money than I could blow in 3 lifetimes, he says, his voice low. Money I got from a father who used it to control everyone. For 10 years, I've been trying to make it actually mean something. His hand comes up, cups her jaw, thumb tracing her cheek. You matter, he says, basically a whisper. Your talent matters. Your dreams matter. And if I can use this cash, I never even earned to help someone I care about, chase something they're a genius at. That's not charity. That's an investment. An investment in what? She breathed out. In you. In the person you could be if you just stop letting other people bully you into staying small. His eyes locked on hers. Go to Paris. Study. Absorb everything. Figure out who Emily Dawson is when she's not killing herself to earn love from people who can't even give it. Then you come back here and you build an empire. Tears started burning. What if I fail? Then you fail, you learn from it, get back up and try something else. But at least you tried. His other hand finds her waist, holding her still, like an anchor. You've spent your whole life playing it safe because you were scared of disappointing them. But listen to me. Those people are already disappointed in you just for daring to exist on your own. So what exactly have you got left to lose? Everything, she whispered. Nothing. Her mind was a total mess. I need to think. Fine. Alexander steps back, giving her room to breathe. But don't take too long. That flight leaves in 2 weeks. And just like that, he was gone. The bell on the door chimed, and she was alone in her bakery, holding a ticket to a life she thought was dead, feeling the first real cracks form in the fortress she'd built around her heart. The rest of the day was a blur. Customers came and went. Emily put on a smile, made chit-chat, her hands going through the motions of baking while her brain was 1,000 miles away, just spinning out. Paris. She could actually go back, walk the old streets, hit up the cafes, maybe even find her old classmates, the ones who became actual chefs. Or she could stay in Houston, keep her head down, try to hold on to the tiny piece of quiet she'd just found. By closing time, her hands were shaking nonstop. At 6:30, Jenna finds her on the floor of the walk-in cooler, curled up in a ball, totally motionless between sacks of flour and sugar. All right, that's it. For a girl who was only 5'2", Jenna was ridiculously strong, yanking Emily back onto her feet. We're going to Melina's. You're eating something that isn't 90% sugar, and you're telling me what the hell is going on? I'm fine, Jen, I swear. You are sitting on the floor of a refrigerator. That is literally not the definition of fine. Let's go. 20 minutes later, Emily was staring at a margarita she has zero memory of ordering, with a plate of enchiladas smoking in front of her. Across the booth, Jenna just sat there, arms crossed, waiting for her to talk. Alexander bought me a plane ticket, Emily finally said. To Paris. Jenna's eyebrows shot right off her forehead. Well, damn. That's a power move. It's crazy. It's complicated. You're in love with him. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. You light up like a freaking Christmas tree every time that dude walks in. And he looks at you like you're the only real thing in the room. Jenna takes a long pull from her drink. So, what's the real problem here? The problem is my life just exploded. My family hates my guts, I'm barely holding it together. And now he wants me to drop my business and run off to France? It's a fantasy. That's not how reality works. First, Jenna said, pointing a chip at her, your family doesn't hate you. They're throwing a hissy fit because you finally cut their puppet strings. Second, this bakery will be fine. I've basically been running the business side for 6 months while you were baking free pity cakes for them. And third, who says this is running away? Why can't it be running towards something? Emily opened her mouth to shoot back, but had nothing, absolutely nothing. You have wanted this for years, Jenna pushed, her voice getting softer. Every single time you talk about Paris, your whole face changes. You get this look, like you remember what it feels like to breathe, and now some guy is handing you a ticket to go do that, and you're desperately looking for a reason to say no. Boy. Because people don't just get epic second chances like this. Life isn't a movie. Says who? Jenna leaned forward. Your family, Emily, you're 28 years old. You are a rock star at what you do, and you have someone who obviously cares about you trying to help you chase your own dream. Stop listening to the ghosts. The only thing stopping you is you. The thought just kept looping as Emily knocked back her margarita, the boozy fire hitting her throat. But what if I get there and I'm a total fraud? What if I was never that good and I just told myself I sacrificed some huge talent, but really Paris would have chewed me up and spit me out? Jenna's voice sliced through the static. Then you'll know, and you'll come home and build something else. She grabbed Emily's hand. But I've seen what you do. It's straight up magic. You make people cry with joy over a freaking cake. You're not ordinary. You're a genius, and the only person who can't see it is you. Because for 28 years, your family brainwashed you into believing that your best would never be good enough. And just like that, something inside her finally snapped. A tight, ancient knot just let go. I'm terrified, she squeaked. Jenna just nodded. Perfect means it's legit. She gave Emily's hand a solid squeeze and let it go. Your food's getting cold. Eat up, then we scheme. They huddled in the warmth of Melina's until way past 9, mapping out a whole new existence on freaking cocktail napkins. Jenna would take over the bakery. Hell, she might even bring on a part-timer to handle the surge. Emily could crunch the numbers from anywhere, chime in on big projects, and check in weekly. This wasn't bailing, it was delegating. By the time Emily got back to her own apartment, a feeling she hadn't felt in forever was settling deep in her bones. Hope. The place was dark, dead quiet. She hit a lamp switch, chucked her keys in the bowl, and her heart just flat out stopped. There was a figure on her couch. Her mother stood up, looking like a statue of calm in a cream pantsuit, and that tiny spark of hope inside Emily got instantly crushed by a heavy, all too familiar dread. How did you get in here? I kept the spare key from when you were sick last winter. Helen's voice was smooth, controlled, the exact tone she used right before a guilt trip disguised as motherly advice. We have to talk. I told you I needed space, and I gave you 3 days. That's surely enough time for you to be rational again. Helen fiddled with her jacket. Emily, sit down. No, this is my home. You don't get to give orders here. For a millisecond, something flashed in Helen's eyes. Was that shock? That her little girl was actually fighting back? Then it was gone, replaced by that practiced mask of phony concern. I'm not here to fight, Emily. I'm here because I am worried sick about you. Your father and I, your sister, all of us. Helen took a step deeper into the room. First, you make a scene at Melissa's wedding, then you ghost all our calls, then you send that insanely dramatic text. She got closer. And now Jenna tells me you're about to run off to Paris with some guy you just met. A cold chill shot down Emily's spine. How do you? I called the bakery. Jenna seems to think this is a brilliant idea, but that girl was always so naive. Helen's gaze went hard. Is that what this is? Has this Alexander person been filling your head with garbage, telling you we don't love you, trying to isolate you from us? Get out! You break into my home, you grill my friend, and then you have the nerve to tell me the first man who's shown me real kindness is the bad guy? Emily's voice was getting louder, shaking. Get out! I will not be spoken to like that. Then leave. Emily snatched her mom's purse off the couch and shoved it into her hands. You don't get to do this to me anymore. You don't get to make me feel crazy for having feelings or selfish for wanting boundaries. I asked for space, 3 lousy days, and you couldn't even respect that. You had to literally break into my apartment. The perfect composure on Helen's face finally started to crack. I gave you everything. A gorgeous home, the best education, every single opportunity. And this is how you repay me? You throw a tantrum because you weren't the center of attention at your own sister's wedding? You told the wedding photographer to crop me out of the family photos. That is a ridiculous lie. I heard you, Mom. I was standing right behind you when you told him to make sure the shot was centered on all the important family members. And then you named every single person except for me. Tears were burning in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. You made me invisible at my own sister's wedding, and then you took all the credit for the cake I spent 3 straight nights making. You're being melodramatic. Stop calling me that. Emily's hands were clenched into tight fists. I have spent my entire life twisting myself into a pretzel trying to be good enough for you. Quiet enough, small enough, useful enough. And it was never enough, was it? Because you don't want a daughter, you want a doll you can wind up to perform and put back in a box when you're done with her. Helen's face turned to ice. You have no idea what real sacrifice is. And you have no idea what it's cost me to even try and be part of this family. Emily walked to her front door and yanked it open. I need you to go. Now. And I want my key. Emily, don't be. The key now. With shaking hands, Helen dug through her purse, pulled out the key, and dropped it into Emily's open hand like it was poison. She paused in the doorway. If you go to Paris, don't you dare expect us to welcome you back. Family is about loyalty, Emily, and you're showing us exactly where yours is. You're right, Emily said, her voice a bare whisper. I am making a choice. I'm choosing myself because none of you ever have. And if that means losing you, then I'm just letting go of something I never actually had. All the color vanished from Helen's face. Her mouth opened, then snapped shut. She turned and stalked down the hall without a single look back. Emily slammed the bolt home and leaned her head against the door, her whole body shaking so bad her teeth were chattering. She did it. She actually stood up for herself, spoke her truth, and chose herself for maybe the first time in her life. It felt awful, and it felt like freedom. She slid down to the floor, just breathing, riding the insane wave of adrenaline and the crash she knew was coming. When she finally got up, her legs wobbly, her phone started to ring. Alexander. "Hey," she said, her voice a total mess. "You okay? I just got a pretty unhinged voicemail from your mother, something about me corrupting you and her getting lawyers involved." She broke into my apartment. There was absolute silence on the line. Then, his voice low and dangerously calm, he said, "She what?" Emily told him everything that just went down: the key, the interrogation, the final ultimatum. By the time she was done, Alexander's breathing was sharp, controlled, the sound of a guy trying to leash a hurricane. "I'm on my way." "You don't have to." "Emily, I'm already in my car. I'm 10 minutes away. And tomorrow morning, we are changing all your locks and talking about a restraining order." "That seems a little extreme." "No, breaking and entering is extreme. This is just the right response." His tone softened slightly. "Are you safe now? Is she gone?" "Yeah, she's gone. I got the key." "Good girl. Lock the deadbolt. I'll be there in a second." He hung up before she could argue. Emily did exactly what he said, sliding both locks home, then walked into her bedroom and yanked a dusty suitcase from the top of the closet she hadn't touched in 5 years. She put it on the bed and just stared. Paris. She could actually do it. She could get on a plane and leave it all behind. Houston, her toxic family, the crushing weight of their demands. She could take all the time she wanted to figure out who she was when she wasn't desperate for the approval of people who didn't care. She could come back whole, strong, unshakable. Emily picked up her phone, opened the family group chat she'd muted days ago. 79 unread messages, a fire hose of begging, accusations, guilt trips, and threats. She scrolled past it all and typed one single message: "I'm going to Paris. Do not contact me. I will reach out when I'm ready. Take care." And with that, she yeeted herself from the group. The knock came exactly 10 minutes later, just like he promised. Emily looked through the peephole. Alexander, his face a mask of worry, and undid the locks. He saw her face, and without saying a thing, he just pulled her into a hug. She absolutely melted against him, burying her face in his chest, breathing in a scent that felt like safety, like finally reaching a safe port. He felt like someone who could see all her broken pieces and still think she was worth the effort of putting back together. "I told her to leave." Emily's voice was muffled by his shirt. "And I told them I'm going to Paris. And I think I'm having a panic attack." "No, you're not. You're having a breakthrough. Huge difference." Alexander's hand rubbed slow, calming circles on her back. "I'm so proud of you." "For what? For totally falling apart on my own floor?" "For standing up for yourself. For finally picking what you want instead of what they demand." He leaned back just enough to see her face. "That took guts." "It took being desperate. Sometimes that's the same thing." He guided her to the couch, sat and pulled her down next to him. "Talk to me. What do you need from me right now?" Emily actually thought about it. She didn't just say what she thought he wanted to hear. "I need to not be afraid anymore," she said finally. "I'm done asking permission to live my own damn life, and I gotta get to Paris before I chicken out." A slow grin spreads across Alexander's face. That real deal, lights up the whole room smile. Then let's make it happen. For the next hour, they weren't dreaming, they were plotting. Turns out Alexander has people in Paris. He's got a buddy with a small hotel who can lock down a long-term apartment for her. He knows another guy who runs a food consulting gig, someone who knows exactly which kitchens are hunting for fresh talent. Emily's hammering notes into her phone, feeling the cage she's been living in just shatter and reform into something that actually looks like her, a shape she wants. What about the bakery, she asks. What about it? I can't just bounce for months. You aren't bouncing. You're trusting Jenna to hold down the fort while you go get the kind of elite experience that'll make you an even bigger deal when you get back. Alexander just cocks his head. Unless the problem is you don't trust Jenna. I trust her completely. More than myself some days. Then let her prove it, he says, his voice low and dead serious. Pay her what she's worth. Give her the promotion that comes with all this new responsibility. And give yourself the escape you should have taken years ago. It sounds way too easy when he puts it like that. Emily just rests her head on his shoulder, feeling him breathe. Why are you doing all this for me? She whispers. Because I can. Because you deserve it. He waits a beat. Because watching you finally pick yourself is the most incredible thing I've seen in years. His arm pulls her in tighter. And yeah, because I'm selfish. I want you to come back a different woman. Confident, locked in, ready to build the life you actually want, not just the one you tripped into. What if I come back, she murmurs, and I'm not who you think I am? Then I'll get to know the person you became, and I've got a feeling I'm going to like her just as much. He kisses the top of her head. Stop looking for all the ways this can blow up, and for once, just let yourself believe it might actually work out. Emily closes her eyes and really lets the idea in, for real, without the guilt, without the fear, without that chorus of voices always calling her selfish. Paris in the spring, the smell of fresh croissants from some little shop on Rue des Martyrs, just walking along the Seine with no plan. The pressure cooker of studying under chefs who would demand everything from her. And then, coming home to Houston with new weapons in her arsenal, a new fire in her eyes, and the dead-on certainty that she was and always had been more than enough. Okay, she breathes out. The word is barely there. Okay, what? He asks, super soft. She looks up, locking eyes with him. Okay, I'll go. I'm going to Paris. For real this time. A fire ignites in Alexander's eyes. Yeah. Her voice is shaking. I'm terrified, and I feel like I'm flying blind, but yeah, I'm going. He kisses her. It was a kiss that was both soft and certain, a kiss that tasted like a second chance. Emily just melts into him, feeling this massive knot in her chest finally, thank God, start to come undone. This is what it felt like, to be backed, to be seen as a worthy investment, not just someone convenient to have around. When they pull apart, he rests his forehead against hers. 2 weeks, he says, and you're on a plane to your future. A smile actually touches Emily's lips. No pressure or anything, right? Absolutely none, he fires back, his voice warm. Except for the pressure of finally being the badass you've always been. But I think you're ready for that. He stayed until it was almost midnight, a solid presence helping her make lists, look up programs, and basically keep the panic attacks from taking over. When he finally left, Emily walked him to the door and held on for a second too long. Thank you, she said, the words full of everything she couldn't say. For everything. For having my back when I didn't. That's what you do when you love someone. He said it so casually, like talking about the weather, and Emily's heart just stopped cold. Alexander. You don't have to say it back, he said fast but gently. You needed to know. He kissed her forehead. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we change your locks and start prepping you for Paris. And then he was gone. Emily stood there in the silence with those 3 insane words just bouncing around her brain. Love. He loved her. This guy who could literally have anyone looked at her, at messy, broken, still figuring it out Emily Dawson, and decided she was worth it. She locked the door, the sound of the bolt slamming home was loud in the quiet, and walked to her bedroom. She looked at the open suitcase on her bed. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, she'd be on a plane to a new life, championed by a man who loved her, leaving behind a family who showed their true, ugly colors. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt like the first real, deep breath she'd taken in years. The locksmith is at her door at 8 a.m., which means Emily's been awake for 4 hours already. She was stuck in a vicious cycle, pack the suitcase, stare at the suitcase, half expecting it to just combust. 10 minutes later, Alexander shows up with coffee and breakfast tacos. He takes one look at her freaked out face and basically steers her to the couch. You didn't sleep? He says. It's not a question. Some, she lies. Maybe 2 hours. Emily grabs the coffee, the warmth feeling amazing against her cold hands. I just kept thinking about every single thing that could go wrong. What if I get there and my skills are gone? What if Mercier's whole crew hates my guts now? What if you're a rock star and they all see it? Alexander cuts in, sitting so close their knees are touching. Hey, you're catastrophizing! I'm being realistic. No, he said, his voice soft. You're terrified. That's different. He bumps her shoulder with his, but you're still going. That's the part that matters. The locksmith was a pro, swapping out the locks on her door, the deadbolt, all of it. Emily watched him, and with every single turn of his screwdriver, she felt something heavy inside her finally lock into place. Her mother couldn't just show up unannounced anymore. Nobody could. This place, for the first time, was hers. Secure, private. When the guy leaves, Alexander hands her a small, jingling set of new keys. One for you, one for a spare. He holds her gaze. And before you even think of offering one to somebody, remember what happened last time. Emily closed her fist around both keys. I'm not giving these to anyone. Good. The rest of the morning was a total logistics blitz. Emily calls Jenna, officially making her the bakery manager for the next few months, tacking on a huge raise that makes Jenna literally shriek with happiness over the phone. After that, she calls her landlord to set up autopay for her rent. Then she does a walkthrough of her apartment, quiet room by quiet room, making a checklist of everything she needs to pause while she's gone. Around noon, her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Emily almost blows it off, but something makes her pick up. Is this Emily Dawson? It's a man's voice, professional, someone she's never heard before. Yes, this is Robert Chen, my son David. He left his card at your bakery about some private lessons. Emily's brain clicks to the business card Jenna gave her. Right, yes, I am so sorry. I've been meaning to call back. No worries, I get it. Look, I'm actually calling about something a little bigger. I run a culinary program for underprivileged kids over in the 3rd Ward. We teach them basic cooking, nutrition, that kind of thing. We're looking for someone to come in and run a pastry workshop. David mentioned your background, your training in Paris, and I figured maybe you'd be interested. Emily's instant gut reaction was no, she was leaving. In less than 2 weeks. She had a mountain of crap to get done. There was 0 chance she could cram one more thing in. But something stopped the word from coming out. What kind of workshop? She hears herself ask. Just a few hours. Show them a few basic moves. Let them make something they can take home to their families. Most of these kids have never had any real culinary training. I just thought it might open a few doors for them, you know? Emily thought about herself at 15, totally obsessed with baking, but 100% convinced it could never be a real job. What would it have meant back then if someone had just shown up and told her it was possible? That you could build an entire world for yourself out of flour and sugar and just plain wanting it? When? She asked. We're flexible. Anytime that works for you. I'm leaving for Paris in 2 weeks, but I could do something before I go. Maybe this weekend? That would be perfect. Does Saturday afternoon work? Emily said yes before her brain had a chance to talk her out of it, jotting down the details while Alexander watched her with this little, knowing smile. What? She asked after she hung up. Nothing, he said. It's just good, seeing you say yes to something that isn't a chore. It's a workshop for kids. Sounds like a chore to me. It's a choice, he corrected her, his voice soft. You could have said no. Alexander stood up, stretching. Come on. We're going shopping. For what? For Paris. You need clothes that aren't dusted with flour or made exclusively for yoga. Emily looked down at her outfit. Leggings and a giant old sweatshirt with a cartoon whisk that said, Whisks take flight. What's wrong with my clothes? Not a thing, he said. For Houston. But you're going to one of the fashion capitals of the world, and I am not letting you show up looking like you don't know your own worth. He held out a hand. Trust me. Shopping with Alexander was a whole other level. He blew right past her usual spots. Target, Old Navy, places where a $50 price tag felt like a major purchase. Nope. He took her straight into River Oaks boutiques, the kind of places where the prices are a state secret, which basically means you can't afford anything. Alexander, this is insane. I can't. Yes, he said, cutting her off. You can. Think of it as part 2 of the Paris gift. He was already pulling dresses off the racks, holding them up to her, making these quiet, intense judgments. All right, time for a serious upgrade, Alexander announced. You need at least 3 killer dresses, some jeans that actually fit, and a real coat because Paris in the spring is a lie and you will freeze. I know how cold it is. And shoes, he steamrolled right over her, that are not those fugly bakery clogs. So Emily basically tried on an entire new identity in that fitting room. Alexander was posted up outside, giving brutally honest feedback. Navy dress. Absolute yes. The one with the clown ruffles. Hard pass. The leather jacket. That screams, I have my life together and I will end you. This is insane, Emily muttered, walking out in dark jeans and a silk top that cost more than a week of groceries. This is perfect, Alexander shot back, circling her like a shark. See, you look like you, he finally decided. But like The version of you who knows she deserves to own stuff that isn't covered in flour. Emily glanced in the mirror and just about choked. He wasn't wrong. She looked legit. Like she could walk into a boardroom and people would actually listen. I have no idea how to be that woman, she confessed, her voice a whisper. So you practice? He said, locking eyes with her in the reflection. You act the part until you become the part. Fake it till you make it is a real strategy, my friend. You gotta try on the new you before you can grow into it. They walked out with 6 bags of clothes she never would have picked in a million years, and a receipt Alexander hid before the sheer number of zeros on it could give her a heart attack. In the car, Emily stared him down. I'm paying you back for all this, she stated, no room for argument. The flight, the clothes, all of it. He tried to wave it off. You really don't have to. No, I do, she insisted. Not because I'm ungrateful, but I have to know I can do it. This isn't me trading one owner for another. Her gaze was intense. This has to be on my terms, even if it takes me forever. Alexander was quiet for a second, then just nodded once, getting it. Fine, but 0 interest. And payments don't start until you're making bank. Deal? Deal. That night, Emily was at the 3rd Ward Community Center, checking out the kitchen for her Saturday workshop. It was smaller than she hoped. The stoves looked ancient, the bowls were a mess, and you could maybe cram 15 kids in there before it turned into a mosh pit. A guy named Robert Chen was waiting for her. He was a solid dude, maybe in his 50s, with smile lines and a permanent layer of flour on his glasses. Seriously, thanks for this, he said, his handshake solid. These kids, they don't get a lot of shots like this. He looked around the room. Most of them think their only options are flipping burgers or joining a gang. Just you being here, showing them something else. It's everything. Emily felt that old familiar pressure in her chest. I'm happy to do it. How old are they? 13 to 17. Total mix of skills, some regulars, some newbies. He gave her the rundown, pointing out where the supplies were stashed. I was thinking you could do something that looks impressive but isn't impossible. Something they can take home and be a hero for a day. Her brain went into overdrive. Macarons, way too technical. Croissants, takes days. But chocolate chip cookies, total classic. Everybody loves them, and you can get creative, which would let these kids feel like they actually owned the result. Yeah, that was it. Cookies, she declared, but we're gonna make them legendary. I'll break down the science, why butter temperature is key, how different sugars change the whole game. She wanted them to see that this wasn't just following a recipe. It was chemistry you could eat. Robert's face totally lit up. Perfect. See you Saturday at 2? Emily locked it in, and on the drive home, she felt something she hadn't felt in ages. A mission. One that had 0 to do with trying to please a bunch of people who'd already decided she was a failure. The next few days were a total whirlwind. Emily was busy training Jenna on the bakery's crazy custom orders, trying to fix the broken ordering system, and having about 3 separate panic attacks about ditching her entire life's work. Alexander was her rock, talking her off the ledge each time with this calm patience that should have been annoying, but somehow wasn't. Then, Friday afternoon, Marcus showed up. The final boss battle was about to begin. Emily was in the back counting flour sacks when Jenna popped in, looking apologetic. Your brother's here. I told him you were swamped, but he's not taking no for an answer. Emily took a deep breath, dusted off her apron, and marched out front. And there he was, Marcus, in his dumb corporate suit, looking totally out of place next to the croissants. He met her eyes, and something unreadable flashed in his. "Hey," he managed. "Hey." The silence was thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, Marcus coughed. "Mom told me you're off to Paris. Word travels fast, huh? She's a wreck, Melissa too. Dad's not talking about it, which is basically code red for him being furious." Marcus shuffled his feet. "They sent me to talk you down." "And you came," Emily said, her voice dead flat, "because you're a good little soldier." She crossed her arms. "Let me guess, I'm supposed to say I'm sorry, kill the trip, and be at Sunday dinner with a smile on my face. They just want their daughter back." They never had a daughter. They had a free employee and someone to blame when things went south. Emily fought to keep her voice from shaking. "And I'm officially resigning from both positions." Marcus physically recoiled. "That's not fair." "Really? When's the last time Mom asked how I was doing? Or Dad stopped by just to say hi and not because he needed a last-minute cake? When did Melissa ever treat me like a sister instead of her personal caterer?" "We're family, Emily." Family doesn't Photoshop you out of the wedding pictures, Marcus. Family doesn't steal credit for your work. Family doesn't break into your apartment and demand an apology because you finally grew a spine. The rage she'd been swallowing for her entire life started to bubble up, and she shoved it back down. "You know the worst part? For years, I actually thought if I just baked one more cake, worked one more hour, you'd all finally see me. It took me 28 years to realize you always saw me. You just didn't give a damn." Marcus's face went beet red. "You're being dramatic." "Stop," she said, her voice dangerously quiet. "Don't you dare say that." Her hands balled into fists. "I have spent my whole life being told my feelings are too big, that I'm overreacting, that I'm too sensitive. But what if I'm not? What if I'm reacting exactly how a human being should? Maybe the problem isn't how much I feel, but how little the rest of you do." "That's not true." "Oh yeah? Name one thing about my life right now that isn't about this bakery or something I can do for you." Marcus opened his mouth, shut it, tried again. Nothing. Crickets. "Yeah, that's what I thought." Emily untied her apron. "I'm going to Paris. I'm going to learn and get better and figure out who the hell I am when I'm not auditioning for people who've already decided I'm not good enough. And if I come back, I'm building a life that doesn't require your approval." "Emily, you need to leave. I've got inventory." "Mom said if you get on that plane, you're out. Done. No more holidays, no more anything. She's dead serious." His voice was shaky. "Good," Emily said. "Saves me the trouble of breaking up with you myself." She headed for the back, but stopped. "And for the record, I really hope you guys figure out how to feel good about yourselves without needing someone to look down on. Because that's all I was, the bottom rung of the ladder so you all could feel tall." She walked away and didn't look back. In the kitchen, Emily just slammed her hands down on the cold steel counter and focused on breathing. In, out. Her hands were shaking, but her chest, it felt lighter, like she'd just dropped 100-pound weight she didn't even know she was carrying. Jenna peeked in. "You good?" Yeah, Emily said, a real smile slowly spreading across her face. I think I'm amazing. Saturday afternoon, Emily rolled up to the community center with $200 in top-tier ingredients and a plan. 15 kids showed up. Some looked hyped, some looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. All of them were eyeing her, waiting for the catch. All right, listen up, Emily said, sizing them up. Who here thinks baking is for grandmas? A few kids raised their hands. Wrong. Baking is science you can eat. Screw up one measurement, you get a hockey puck. Get the oven 1 degree too hot. Your chocolate is garbage. But, she grinned, a legit grin, when you nail it, it's straight up magic. She walked them through the intel. Why frozen butter makes cookies chewy. Why room temp eggs are non-negotiable. How brown sugar versus white sugar changes everything. The kids actually started paying attention when she let them smell the difference between fake vanilla extract and the good stuff, or taste cheap cocoa powder next to the real deal. Yo, this is like legal drug dealing, one of them mumbled. Emily laughed so hard she almost fell over. So they're mixing ingredients, getting into a legit war over chocolate chips versus chunks. Emily's walking the floor like a drill sergeant, fixing a grip, dropping intel, feeling more like a boss than she has in months. These kids don't know her family thinks she's a total washout. They don't care. All they want is the secret to making something epic. Then, at the end of the session, a quiet girl named Destiny steps up. Miss Emily, can I ask you something? Shoot! Did you always know this was the gig, like baking? Emily had to process that. I always loved it, but I never thought it could be a real hustle until someone else told me it was possible. My family wanted me to play it safe, be a doctor or a lawyer or some other boring thing, but I couldn't get pastries out of my head. So what flipped the switch? Honestly, Emily drops her voice, looking this kid dead in the eye. I got sick of living a life for everyone else that was making me miserable. So I bounced to Paris, trained under a chef who was a straight-up demon, and came back to build something that was mine. She holds Destiny's gaze. Best damn decision I ever made. Even when your family hated it. Emily knew that question. It's the question every kid with a target on their back asks. Especially because they hated it. Because it taught me my worth doesn't come from other people signing off on my life. It comes from being proud of the person I'm building. Destiny just nods, slow, and goes back to her station. Workshop ends, kids are gone, clutching their loot, and Robert pulls her aside. That was insane. 3 of them are already asking when you're coming back. I'm shipping out to Paris on Tuesday. I know, but when you get back, if you wanted to make this a regular thing, we'd be all over it. These kids need to see someone who actually gives a damn. And before her brain could even catch up, Emily heard herself agree. Yeah, I'd be down for that. She drove home feeling full for the first time in years. A feeling like she actually did something that mattered. Not because it made her useful, but because it actually made a dent in the world. And who's at her apartment with takeout? Alexander. He's got that look on his face, the one that says he's proud of her, but is trying to play it cool. So, the debrief? It was good. No, it was great. This one kid, Destiny. She's basically me from back in the day. All this power, no idea how to use it. Emily ditches her shoes, crashing onto the sofa. I think I want to keep doing it. You know, after Paris, turn it into a real operation. I think that's a killer idea, Alexander says, handing her some pad thai. You've got a gift with kids, and me. I can spot the people who feel like ghosts. Funny where I picked that up. They ate in a comfortable silence, and Emily finally let the whole insane week land on her, telling off her mother, watching Marcus crash and burn, choosing herself over and over, even when it hurt like hell. I'm terrified, she finally admits into the quiet. Of Paris? Of all of it. Of failing and of succeeding. Just to realize I could have done this years ago if I wasn't such a coward. Of coming back a stranger to the life I bled for. Alexander puts his fork down, turns his whole body to face her. You want to know what I see? I see you going to Paris and unleashing something you've kept locked up for years. You're gonna second guess every single move, and then you're gonna smash through that fear anyway. You're gonna find things that will completely wreck everything you thought you knew about your craft. And when you come home, you'll still be the same Emily who goes too hard and feels too much. But you'll finally believe you deserve to take up space in this world. That's a hell of a lot of faith to have in someone you found crying in a freezer 5 days ago. It's based on facts. I've watched you survive your own family for 6 months. After that, Emily, you're basically bulletproof. He gently tucks a piece of hair behind her ear. And I'll be right here when you get back, no matter how long it takes. Emily felt tears starting to burn, but she swallowed them down. What if I'm gone for 6 months, a whole year? Then I'll miss you like crazy, and I'll wait for you anyway. That's not fair to you, Alexander. Let me worry about what's fair to me. He takes her face in his hands, and his touch is like an anchor. I love you. That's not a contract with a deadline. It just is. So you go to Paris, take all the time you need, find yourself again. And when you're ready, if this city still feels like home, I'll be here. That's when she kissed him, trying to cram 1,000 unsaid things into that one move. Thank you. I'm so scared. I love you too. Please don't give up on me. When they finally came up for air, Alexander rested his forehead on hers. Tuesday, he whispered. 3 more days, just 3. Sunday. Emily scorched the earth in her apartment, cleaning everything and meal prepped for Jenna like a soldier getting her affairs in order. Monday. She triple-checked her passport and packed, unpacked, then repacked her gear. She held one last briefing at the bakery where she broke down crying and tried to blame it on allergies. Monday night, Alexander stayed over, but sleep wasn't on the menu. They just talked, burning through the final hours with everything and nothing. Her mission in Paris, his week ahead, if her plants would survive Jenna's once-a-week watering schedule. You're stalling, Alexander said around 2 a.m. I'm savoring. You're terrified you're going to land and realize you made a huge mistake. Emily shifted in the dark to face him. And what if I do? Then you come home, he said like it was nothing. Paris isn't a prison. You can bail anytime. His hand found hers under the covers. But I don't think you will. I think you're gonna go supernova over there. You're awfully sure of yourself for a guy who's never seen me in my element. I've seen you talk about pastries like they're holy artifacts. I've watched your face light up explaining the science of bread. I've tasted the masterpieces you make while begging for scraps from people who aren't fit to wash your apron. I can't wait to see what you create when the only person you're trying to impress is yourself." Emily had no words for that. So with no words left, she just kissed him again, trying not to think about how much this was gonna suck. The solid heat of him next to her, the way he made her feel like she actually existed, the insane safety of being with someone who wanted her to fly even if she flew 1,000 miles away. Tuesday morning hit like a flashbang, too fast and not fast enough. Emily woke up way before her alarm, heart hammering, just listening to Alexander breathe. This was it. Go time. The day she gets on a plane and torches her old life. She should have been freaking out, but instead all she felt was this weird, cold calm. Alexander drove her to the airport, handled her bags, and walked her right to the edge of no man's land at security. At the gate, Emily turned, trying to burn his face into her memory. The gray in his hair, the lines around his eyes, the way he looked at her like she was the main character. "Thank you," she whispered, "for all of it, for seeing me when I was a ghost, for deciding I was worth the fight, for loving me before I even knew how. Emily, I love you." The words just fell out of her, easier than breathing. "I should have said it sooner. I love you and I'm going to miss you more than I can say. And I swear I'll be back. Maybe not the same, but I'll be back." Alexander just crushed her in a hug that almost broke her ribs. "Go be brilliant. Go show them what you're really made of. And call me the second you land." "I will." One last kiss, deep and desperate, a taste of goodbye and a promise of what's next. And then Emily pulled away, grabbed her bag, and walked toward the line before she could chicken out. She looked back once. Alexander was still standing there, hands in his pockets, watching her with that same steady look that cut through her walls from day one. Emily waved. He waved back. And then she turned toward her future, leaving her past, her family, and every single thing that kept her small, burning in her rearview mirror. The plane was wheels up at noon, climbing over the only city she'd ever known. Emily pressed her face to the cold window, watching Houston disappear. The skyline she knew by heart, the suburbs stretching out forever, all of it getting smaller and smaller until the clouds just ate it all. Down there, her mother was probably still raging. Marcus was probably still confused. Melissa, she probably hadn't even noticed she was gone. And somehow, for the first time ever, none of it mattered. Emily sank into her seat and pulled out a notebook Alexander had slipped into her bag. The note inside just said, "For new recipes and new dreams." She flipped it open to a blank page and started to write. Paris was waiting, and so was the killer she'd always been too scared to become. Paris hit Emily like a shockwave of memory, regret, and pure, raw power all at once. The moment she stepped out of Charles de Gaulle Airport. Bam! It hit her. Paris. That one-of-a-kind mix of coffee, smokes, and rain on old pavement you can't get anywhere else. Her chest locked up so hard she had to stop moving. Some cabbie blasts his horn. Emily grabs her bag and shoves on. The apartment, a hookup from Alexander's buddy, was tucked away in the 6th arrondissement, a total secret spot over a bookshop. A third-floor climb with weird angled ceilings and windows looking out over a courtyard where a piano played at the oddest times. It was half the size of her Houston place for double the price, and Emily was instantly obsessed. She dumps her stuff, grabs her phone, and calls Alexander without even checking the time. It's 3 a.m. in Houston. He picks up on the second ring, his voice all gravelly with sleep. You're there. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot the time. Don't be. I told you to call. You can hear the sheets moving, and she can just picture him sitting up in bed. So, how is it? Emily wanders over to the window, watching the city slowly power on. It's exactly how I remember it, but totally different. That's vague. The city's the same, but I'm not. Last time I was desperate to prove I was good enough. This time, I know I'm not, and honestly, it makes everything way easier. Alexander goes dead silent on his end for a solid minute. You're gonna do amazing things, Emily, or I'm gonna crash and burn spectacularly and be home in a month. Doesn't matter. You took the shot. That's what counts. His voice gets quieter. Get some sleep. You've been traveling for 14 hours. I'm way too jacked up to sleep. Then at least get some food and pretend to rest. Call me when you're a real person again. They ended up talking for another 20 minutes about absolutely nothing before she finally kicked him off the phone. She tried to sleep, but after an hour of staring at a ceiling, she didn't know. She bailed. Instead, she unpacked, showered, and hit the streets to find this tiny bakery she remembered from forever ago. It was still there, squeezed between a pharmacy and a wine shop, same beat-up awning and chipped paint on the door. Emily orders a croissant and a coffee with her rusty, busted French and snags a table by the window, just watching Paris happen. Her phone buzzes. It's Jenna. Bakery's fine. Chill out. Go be French. Then another from Alexander. Sleep. Seriously. Emily cracks a smile and takes a bite. Perfect. Buttery. Flaky. Just the right amount of salt. She'd forgotten how insane simple things could taste when someone actually gives a damn about doing them right. The first week, though, was a straight-up disaster. She hit up 3 old classmates from Mercier's program. 2 shot back polite, get-lost messages. The third, a woman named Sophie, actually agreed to meet for coffee and spent 60 minutes giving her the battlefield update. Who was where, who opened their own places, and who totally imploded and ran back home with nothing. And you? Sophie asks, stirring her espresso. What dragged you back into this dumpster fire? Emily almost made up some professional-sounding lie, but Sophie's stare was so intense it felt impossible. I needed to remember who I was before I let a bunch of people tell me I was worthless. Sophie didn't even flinch. A damn good reason. You staying long? No idea. As long as it takes, I guess. Well, if you really want to get your hands dirty, Arnaud Petit needs help with his spring menu. The pay is garbage, but you'll learn more than you can dream of. Sophie scribbles a name and number on a napkin. Tell him I sent you, she says. He's a monster, but the guy's a genius. With a shaky hand, Emily took the piece of paper. Arnaud Petit. A name with a Michelin star attached and a dark reputation for absolutely wrecking chefs who couldn't meet his insane standards. Taking this job meant walking straight into the flames. Thank you, Emily whispered. Don't thank me yet. He made 3 chefs cry last month. Sophie gave her a razor-thin smile. But you survived Mercier, so you know how to handle a tyrant. Emily dialed the number that afternoon, totally expecting a machine. Instead, Arnaud Petit answered himself, his voice a sharp bark. Quoi? Like she'd just ruined his life. Bonjour, Monsieur Petit. My name is Emily Dawson. Sophie Renard told me to. You're the American. Yes, but my training. Can you be here tomorrow? Emily's brain just shut down. Yes, 7 in the morning. And don't be late. We're testing an orange blossom panna cotta, and if you screw it up, you're gone before lunch." The line went dead before she could even take a breath. Emily just stared at her phone, her heart pounding like a drum, and called Alexander. "I got a job," was all she said. "That's awesome. Doing what?" "I have absolutely no clue," she admitted, "but it starts at 7 tomorrow, and there's a solid chance I'll be fired by noon." Alexander lets out this deep laugh of his, the one that rumbles right through her and makes the distance between them hurt. "You'll be brilliant." Yeah, no, she was a train wreck. Arnaud Petit's kitchen wasn't a kitchen. It was a hurricane held together by pure skill and the power of his yelling. It was a war zone, and for the first 3 hours, Emily was convinced she'd made the worst mistake of her life. Her French was clunky, her hands felt clumsy and slow, and she torched the first batch of panna cotta so bad that Arnaud chucked the whole tray in the trash, telling her if she wanted to waste his money, she could pay for it. But she didn't quit. She just made the second batch and it was perfect. The third was even better. By the end of the week, he stopped calling her the American. He called her Dawson, which Sophie swore was his version of a hug. Emily found her groove in the chaos, up at 5, work till 3, then drag herself home looking like a ghost, dusted in sugar, flour, and fresh burns. She'd video call Alexander while eating dinner, just standing in her tiny kitchen, totally exhausted. Sleep for 6 hours. Repeat. It was the most brutal job she'd ever had, and she had never felt more alive. 3 weeks in, Sophie drags her to a dinner party at her apartment, a small, chaotic place in the 11th arrondissement, packed with random chairs and shelves about to collapse under the weight of cookbooks. 8 people were crammed around a table meant for 6. Every single one of them from the food world she thought she'd escaped. "So you just ditched your own business to come back to this?" some food blogger named Mark asked, his voice dripping with shock. "That's insane." "Probably," Emily heard herself say, "but I was drowning over there, trying to keep a business running while my own family treated me like a 24/7 convenience store. And somewhere in all that crap, I forgot why I ever loved this. And now," Emily actually thought about it. "Now I'm starting to remember. Turns out when you're not forced to bake free wedding cakes for people who will never say thank you, you can actually enjoy what you're doing." The table laughed. The moment blew over. But later Sophie corners her by the sink. "You seem different," Sophie said. "Lighter. Like someone finally snipped the puppet strings you didn't even know you had." "That's exactly what it feels like." Emily dried a plate Sophie handed her. "I have spent my entire life begging for approval from people who couldn't give it. And by coming here, it feels like I finally gave myself permission to stop asking. That must have been tough." "It was the hardest thing I've ever done," she said, "and at the same time, the easiest. The second I made the choice, everything just clicked." Sophie gave her a real smile this time. "Good for you. Most people never figure that out." 1 month turned into 2, then 3. Emily's French got smooth, her confidence rebuilding with every perfect tart, and she started to recognize herself in the mirror again. The girl who fell in love with pastry because it was like edible magic. In May, Arnaud offered her a permanent position. Emily almost said yes on the spot before it all came rushing back. Houston, her bakery, Alexander, the whole life she just walked away from. "I need some time to think," she told him. "Don't take forever. I've got 3 other people who would kill for your spot." But for a split second, his eyes looked almost kind. That night, on a video call, Emily laid the whole situation out for Alexander. The job offer, the high of being noticed by a mentor who saw her talent, the way Paris was literally putting her back together piece by piece. But, Alexander asked quietly, "But Houston is my home, the bakery is my baby, and you're there." Emily pulled her knees up to her chest. "I don't know what to do. What do you want to do?" "Both. Neither. I want to stay here and keep leveling up, but I also want to go home and use everything I've learned. I want to see you for real, not just some pixels on my phone. I want—" She just trailed off. So, Emily feels like she's got to choose between her old self and her new self. But her dude Alexander, over a glitchy video call, is like, "Nah, don't choose." He tells her the bakery will be there when she's ready. But then he hits her with the real talk. Stay in Paris and get everything you came for. It's only been 3 months. Don't chicken out now just because you want it all. Tears well up. She misses him. He misses her too. But he'd rather miss her while she's winning than have her come home early and wonder what if forever. So, she stays. Spring turns into a scorching summer. Emily grinds for Arno and starts booking her own private gigs. Fancy dinners, custom cakes for strangers. Her name starts buzzing like a secret password. First, it's the expats, then it ripples out into the whole Paris food scene. By July, she's so slammed, she can't even take on all the work. One night, this woman, Claire, comes up to her after a 7-course dessert tasting. She asks, "Ever thought about teaching?" Emily's like, "Teaching what?" And Claire just says, "This, what you do." Turns out, Claire runs a culinary school and needs a new head for their pastry program. Someone with skills and passion. Claire slides her a business card. The offer? Good salary and total creative control. Emily takes the card, feeling that old pull again. Stay or go. That weekend, she links up with an old roommate, Isabel, who now owns a bistro. They're chilling with wine by the Seine, and Emily just spills everything. The family drama, Alexander, the 2 insane job offers, feeling like she's being ripped between 2 lives. Isabel refills their glasses and drops a truth bomb. "You know what your problem is? You're still waiting for permission." She tells Emily she ran from Houston to get away from people who made her feel small, but she's still letting them live rent-free in her head. Who cares what they think? Who cares if they approve? What do you want? "I don't know what I want." Isabel just shakes her head. "You know exactly what you want. You're just too scared to take it." And those words just hang there, because Isabel is 100% right. Emily knew. She wanted everything, the thrill of Paris and the home she built in Houston. She wanted to be the girl who escaped her family and the woman who thrived without their approval. She was done picking pieces of herself. Time to build a life big enough for all of it. That night, Emily went into beast mode. First call, Arnaud. "I want the permanent job, but you gotta give me 2 weeks. I need to fly back to Houston and sort my life out." He agrees. 2 weeks, not a day more. But she could basically hear him smiling. Next call, Claire. "I'm in for the teaching job, but only for the fall semester. After that, I gotta go home." Claire's cool with it. "Give us your best, we'll talk later." Final call, Alexander. It's dawn in Houston, his voice all sleepy. "I'm coming home," Emily says. "Just for 2 weeks. There's stuff I have to do in person." He asks what stuff. Emily takes a deep breath. "I need to see my family. Look them in the eye instead of hiding across the ocean." And I have to figure out the bakery, 'cause I'm not ready to come back for good, but I'm not ready to lose it. She pauses. And I need to see you. For real, not just some pixelated version on a screen. When? Next week, I'll send you the flight info. I'll be there. The flight to Houston was different. The first one was an escape. This was a mission, a return to finish the job. Emily spends the flight sketching out her future in the notebook from Alexander. Blueprints for the bakery, insane new recipes, and a battle plan for telling her fear to get lost. And just like he promised, Alexander was there at arrivals, waiting. The second she saw him, the entire world went silent. Her bag clatters to the floor, but the sound is gone as she closes the gap between them in a dead sprint. He catches her, lifting her off the ground in a hug so tight it felt like he was trying to put her back together by force. She could hardly breathe. Hi. She gasped into his shoulder. Hi, yourself, he rumbled back. He sets her down but doesn't let go. You're different. Good different or bad different? Confident different, he says, his thumb tracing her jaw. Like you finally see what I've seen all along. He leans in, kisses her forehead. I missed this. I missed you more than words. They crash at his place, a sick penthouse she'd only seen once, with floor-to-ceiling windows showing off the city. As Alexander makes coffee, she stares out at Houston glittering below. The city looks smaller. She says out loud, No, Alexander replies, coming up behind her. You just got bigger. He watches her for a second. So, what's the plan for these 2 weeks? First, the bakery. After that, I face the family, for real this time. No more ghosting calls. Emily finally turns to look at him. And then, I need to know what we are. Because I love you, Alexander. I'm not walking away from you, but I can't ask you to wait in limbo while I get my crap together. You're not asking, he says, his voice low and steady. I'm offering. He puts his coffee down and takes her hands. I don't need you to have it all figured out, Emily. I just need you to be honest. I just need you. I want it all when she blurts out. I want my life in Paris, learning from Arnaud, teaching with Claire. But I also want to come home and build something new here, make the bakery more than it ever was. Her eyes lock on his, practically begging him to get it. And I want you through everything. I am done choosing one part of my life over another. A slow, knowing smile spreads across his face. Then let's figure out how to have it all. The bakery was a total mind trip. It looked exactly the same, but was completely different. Jenna hadn't just kept it running, she'd turned it into a powerhouse. New stuff on the menu, fresh paint, and a line of customers out the door. A sight Emily had only ever dreamed of. You've been busy, Emily says, totally floored. Jenna is beaming. It's insane what you can do when you're not baking free apology cakes for ungrateful relatives. You actually have time to market. And then she drops the bomb. Revenue is up 30% since you left. 30%? Emily can't believe it. Yep. And I hired 2 part-timers. Hope you don't mind. A warmth spreads through Emily's chest. Mind, Jenna? That's freaking incredible. The rest of the day is a whirlwind of spreadsheets, genius new recipes, and glowing reviews. Jenna set up online ordering, a weekly pastry subscription, and was already talking to 3 cafes about wholesale deals. You don't need me for the day-to-day anymore, Jenna says, straight up but not mean. I've got this. But what I need is you as the creative genius, The new recipes, the seasonal menus, the crazy custom orders, all the stuff you're amazing at, instead of the paperwork you've always hated. Emily just stares as it sinks in. Are you saying I could live in Paris and still be a part of this? I'm saying you built something awesome and it shouldn't cost you your soul. Trust us to handle the grind so you can work your magic. Jenna pauses, unless you really want to come back. But honestly, you seem happier in Paris and this place. It runs better when you're not stressing over every little thing. The words should have hurt, the idea that her baby didn't need her anymore. Instead, Emily felt a wave of relief so huge her knees gave out and she had to sit down. So, I guess I trained you too damn well, her boss said with a faint smile. You trained me perfectly. Time for you to be a rock star somewhere else. That night, Emily rolls up to her parents' place in River Oaks. Total ambush. She didn't call ahead. Her hand is shaking as she rings the bell. Her father opens the door, and dude looks like he's aged a decade. The gray in his hair is popping, the lines around his mouth are deep. He just stares at her, a whole mess of emotions on his face. Emily. Hi, Dad. The silence is so thick you could cut it with a knife, but he finally moves. Your mother's in the living room. Helen's just sitting there on the sofa, cool as a cucumber with a magazine, not a single hair messed up. When Emily walks in, she puts the magazine down super slow. Well, look what the cat dragged in. I know, my bad, should have called. Emily stays standing, making it clear this might be a drive-by conversation. But I had some things to say to your faces. We're all ears, her dad says, collapsing into his favorite chair. Emily takes a deep breath, ready for war. I'm not here for your apology, and I'm definitely not here for you to understand why I bounced. I'm here to let you know I am officially done trying to buy the affection you were supposed to give me for free. Helen's face goes from 0 to Ice Queen real quick. Emily, if you would just let me get a word in, she starts, her voice like steel. For 28 years, I bent myself into pretzels trying to be someone you guys would actually like. I tried to be smaller, quieter, more useful. It was never good enough, because I was never the problem. The problem was you'd already decided I was worth less than Marcus, less than Melissa. Maybe you didn't even realize you were doing it, but that doesn't change the fact that I spent my whole childhood feeling like a ghost in my own damn house. That's not what happened, her dad mumbles, sounding weak. Wasn't it? When's the last time you came to my bakery just to see me? When did you ever ask about my life if you didn't need something from me? Emily's eyes flick between the two of them. I made Melissa's wedding cake for free. That was 3 days of my life, $2,000 of ingredients. And you told all your friends you hired a pro because you were embarrassed by what I do for a living. Helen's hands clench up in her lap. We just wanted... You wanted me to be someone else, Emily snaps back. Someone with a fancy job you could brag about, someone who wouldn't be a damn embarrassment when your country club friends asked about your other daughter. Tears are burning her eyes, but she is not letting them drop. Not today. And I let you make me feel small because I thought that was the price I had to pay to be in this family. But I get it now. I was wrong. Love isn't supposed to have a price tag. And if it does, then what you're selling, sure as hell, isn't love. A crushing silence fills the room. Her father is the first to crack. What do you want from us, Emily? I want you to see the damage. I want you to get that making someone feel invisible is its own brand of messed up. And I need you to look in the mirror and decide if you can love the daughter you actually have, not the one you wish you did. She lets that bomb hang in the air. But my life isn't going on pause while you two figure it out. I have a life now in Paris, a real one. And whether or not you're a part of it, that's completely on you. You're choosing some guy over your own family. Helen spits out, her voice dripping with venom. Nope, Emily says, calm and cool. I'm choosing myself. Alexander was just the first person who actually saw me clearly and showed me I was a choice worth making. She heads for the door, then turns back one last time. If you ever want a real relationship with me, one where you actually respect me, where I'm not just your go-to servant, you know my number. But the days of me begging for scraps at a table where I should have had a damn throne are over. She's out the door before they can even process what hit them. Sitting in her car, Emily's hands are shaking so bad she has to grip the steering wheel for 5 solid minutes before she can even think about driving. But under all that shaking, she feels something else, something solid, a foundation she built herself, piece by painful piece, one that doesn't need anyone's permission to be strong. She calls Alexander. I did it. And how do you feel? His voice asks. A solid rock in the middle of her hurricane? It feels, she says, a slow smile spreading across her face. Like I just dropped a 100-pound weight I didn't even know I was carrying. Emily turns the key. I'm on my way. I'll be waiting. 2 days later, Marcus calls. Emily just stares at his name on her screen, hesitating, before something makes her pick up. Hey, he says. Hey. The silence is loaded with years of drama. Mom told me you came by, Marcus finally says. She said you gave them an ultimatum. I gave them the truth. If the truth sounds like an ultimatum, that's on them, not me. Emily, they're our parents. They are people I'm related to by blood, she shoots back. That doesn't give them a free pass to treat me like I'm disposable. Emily collapses onto Alexander's couch. Was there a point to this call, Marcus? Or are you just here to give me another lecture on how I'm a family disappointment? I called to say I'm sorry. The words hit Emily like a ton of bricks. What? I'm sorry, he says again, his voice cracking. For never sticking up for you, for laughing at Mom's cheap shots about your job, for acting like you were some kind of failure when you were the only one brave enough to build a life you actually gave a crap about. His voice gets shaky. You were right the whole time. We made you invisible, and that was just messed up. Hot, quiet tears start streaming down her face. Thank you for saying that. Are you really not coming home? I'm staying in Paris for a bit. Could be months, could be a year. I'm teaching, learning, figuring out who the hell I am when I'm not trying to get everyone's approval. And that's good. You deserve it. Marcus takes a breath. Will you come home for Thanksgiving? I know it's a ways away, but Sarah and we want to do it for real. With you there as our sister, not just the girl who drops off a pie and vanishes. Emily thinks about it, a little spark of hope fighting against a lifetime of being let down. Maybe. Hit me up when it's closer. I'm done making promises I'm not sure I can keep. Fair. Another long pause. I really am sorry, Emily. I know. I hear you. But an apology only means something if things actually change. I'm trying, he says, and for now, that's something. After they hang up, Emily sits there with his words bouncing around in her head, feeling that twisted knot of hope and hurt, and slowly realizing that some wounds don't just magically heal because someone finally says sorry. 20 minutes later, Alexander finds her on the sofa, just lost in the quiet. You okay? Marcus said he was sorry, and he actually meant it. Not that fake sorry people say so they can stop feeling guilty. So that's a good thing, right? It's a start. I just don't know if it's enough. Emily leans against him as he sits down, all her doubt resting on him. Does it make me a terrible person if I can't just trust him? No, it makes you smart. One apology doesn't just delete 28 years of history. He's gotta prove it. Alexander wraps his arm around her, but it's a beginning, if you want it. For the next 2 weeks in Houston, Emily splits her time. She's with Alexander, she's at the bakery, and she's taking these long, random walks, trying to figure out what home even means when you've outgrown your old one. She has dinner with Jenna and her girlfriend, helps interview new bakers, and even runs a weekend workshop at the community center that leaves her totally exhausted, but also totally fulfilled. Destiny shows up for the workshop, taller than Emily remembered, and carrying herself with this brand new confidence. You actually came back, the girl says. I promised I would. Yeah, well, grown-ups make promises all the time. Oof, that one stings. I meant it, Emily says. And I'll be back again. It might be a couple of months, but I'm not ghosting you. Destiny's smile is like a flashbang, lighting up her entire face. The night before she flies back to Paris, Alexander takes her to the spot from their third date. A tiny Italian place with red checkered tablecloths and wine served in old jam jars. I've been thinking about something, Alexander says, messing with pasta he has no intention of eating. That's always a bad sign. A little smile plays on his lips. No, for real. For 3 months you've been ripping yourself in half, trying to make 2 lives work in Houston and Paris. What if you didn't have to do that anymore? What are you getting at? I'm saying my company doesn't need me to be physically here. Let's be real. I've been running most of it from a laptop since you left anyway. He puts down his fork. What if I moved to Paris with you? Maybe not for good, but for a few months, so we could have some actual time together, not just these quick trips and glitchy video calls. Emily just gawks at him. You'd move to Paris for me. For us, he corrects her gently. And also because I'm sick of sleeping alone, and honestly, I've been looking for a reason to really spend some time there. He just dropped a bomb. His hand came down over hers on the table. Listen, I'm not trying to make you pick between 2 lives, Emily. I'm giving you a third option, a world where we both get what we want. But your company? What happens to that? I've got a killer team running the daily grind. Anything major I can handle on a video call or just hop on a plane for a few days. The entire point of building that empire was to have this exact freedom. It's about time I started cashing in. Something in Emily's chest started to balloon. It was massive and scary and amazing all at once. You're actually for real about this. 100%. Unless you want me to stay here and mope around like some drama king. That moping is kind of cute, though, Emily. Her laugh was shaky, mixed with tears. Yes, Yes, please come to Paris. A week later, they were on the same flight heading back. Alexander snagged a rental in the 7th arrondissement, a place that dwarfed hers, with closets you could walk into and a kitchen built for more than one person. The first 3 days were a complete blur of catching up, a chaotic mess of arms and legs and late-night talks. And for the first time, Emily let herself believe this might actually be legit, that she didn't have to choose love or the grind. Maybe, just maybe, she could have both. When the fall semester kicked off, Emily dove into teaching with the same fire she had back when she worked for Arno. Her classes were a wild mix: culinary school grads trying to find their niche, career changers chasing a dream, and a few brave rookies who just wanted to learn. She rode them hard, the same way Mercier rode her, but there was a kindness to it, a real belief they could hit her insane standards. One student, a quiet woman named Marie, was different. She was juggling 3 jobs to pay for the class, dragging herself in, looking exhausted, but with a fire in her eyes every single time. Emily saw a younger version of herself in Marie, all that raw skill buried under a mountain of insecurity. "You've got a knack for this," Emily told her one afternoon while they cleaned up. "A serious talent. You should really think about going pro." Marie just shook her head. "It's too late for me. I'm 34. Everyone else starts when they're 20. I was 23 when I officially started my training. Your age means nothing. Your drive is everything." Emily scribbled Arno's details on a card and gave it to her. "Tell him I sent you. He's an absolute nightmare. But if you can survive his kitchen, you can survive any kitchen on the planet." Marie's hand was shaking when she took the card, and in that tiny tremor, Emily saw her own past. That jolt when someone sees potential in you, the raw fear of finally going after the one thing you want more than anything. "Thank you," Marie whispered. "Don't thank me yet. Just go in there and be so good they can't ignore you." Back at the apartment, she and Alexander fell into a rhythm that was just easy. He'd work from home in the mornings while she taught. They'd hit up little cafes for lunch, exploring the neighborhood, and spent their evenings cooking together, hashing out their days. It was a type of domestic bliss Emily had never experienced. A team that wasn't an act, a love that didn't come with a bunch of terms and conditions. "I could get seriously used to this," she mumbled one night, tucked into his side on their little balcony, with Paris humming below. "Good. That's the whole plan." Alexander kissed the side of her head. "So, have you thought about what you're going to do when the semester wraps up?" "A little. But not for real." Emily traced patterns on his arm. "Arno wants to bring me on as a full-time instructor. Claire wants me for another semester, and Jenna keeps spamming me with ideas to expand the bakery. What do you want?" "I want to be done choosing. I want a life that can exist in both cities. To teach here for half the year and run workshops back in Houston for the other half. To finally build a life that's big enough for all the pieces of me. So do it. It's not that easy." He shifted to face her. "Yeah, it is. You're the one making it complicated because you're still waiting for someone to give you a permission slip. You don't need one anymore, Emily. You just have to decide what you want and go get it. You've already proven you can make it without your family's approval. Now you gotta prove you can build your own world without anyone's permission at all." The truth of his words hit her hard. 2 weeks before her classes were done, her phone rang. It was Marcus. "Hey." "So, I know you were iffy about Thanksgiving, but I'm trying one last time. Please come home, just for the day. Sarah and I both really, really want you here, and I've been talking to Mom and Dad. What does that even mean, talking to them? It means I've been telling them how they actually made you feel, that you weren't just some dramatic kid, that they really hurt you and they need to own it. Marcus sighed. It's a slow motion train wreck, but Dad actually asked for your number last week. Said he wanted to call, but had no idea what to say. A tiny, fragile piece of Emily shifted. He actually said that? Yeah, I think he's finally getting it. Mom's a tougher nut to crack. She's still stuck on her "you embarrassed us" narrative, but now when I push back, she actually listens instead of just shutting down. I don't know if I'm ready. I'm not asking you to forgive them. I'm just asking you to give them a shot to prove they're trying. That's it. One dinner. If it's a train wreck, you can bail, and I swear I'll never mention it again. He paused. But Em, you deserve a family that fights for you. And we are. It's messy, and it's slow, and we'll probably screw it up 100 more times. But we're trying. Emily's eyes met Alexander's, who'd been silently listening to her side of the call. He gave her a slow, deliberate nod. Your decision. I've got your back either way. Okay, Emily heard herself say. One dinner, but I'm bringing Alexander. And the second anyone says one passive-aggressive thing about my life, we're gone. Deal. Thank you. Thanksgiving in Houston was tense, thick with unspoken drama and not a total dumpster fire. Emily's mother was wound tight. Her father was quiet, but you could tell they were trying, forcing themselves to ask about Paris without it sounding like an interrogation. Actually trying to talk to Alexander instead of treating him like furniture. Trying to say they missed their daughter without blaming her for leaving. Melissa showed up late, saw Emily, and just completely broke down. I am so sorry, she sobbed into Emily's shoulder. I was a total monster to you. At my wedding, before that, my entire life, basically. You baked that insane cake for me and I barely grunted a thank you, and I let Mom convince me you were the problem, but you weren't. You were hurting, and I should have been on your side. Emily just hugged her sister back, letting the emotional hurricane blow over. This wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. That was going to take way more than one teary meltdown. It would take actual, lasting change. But it was something. A tiny crack in the fortress they'd all built. Later that night, her father tracked her down, asked if they could talk. Alone, they wound up on the back porch, the same one where Emily had spent years of her childhood trying to become invisible, to get away from the pressure of being someone she wasn't. I need to apologize to you, he said, his voice low. A real one. Not that I'm sorry you felt that way. Crap. A real apology because I failed you. Emily's throat closed up. Okay. I wanted you to be like Marcus, to have a life that made sense to me, a job I could brag about at the country club. When you chose baking, I honestly thought you were throwing your life in the trash. It never even crossed my mind that you were just using your talents in a way I was too blind to see. He looked out into the yard. Your mother and I, we came from nothing. We clawed our way to this life. All we ever wanted was for you kids to be secure, to be successful, to have all the things we couldn't. But somewhere along the way, we started measuring your life by our definition of success instead of letting you have your own. That hurt the most, Emily said, her voice a ghost. I know, he said. And for that I am so sorry. What you built with that bakery is amazing. And what you're doing now in Paris, it's even better. I should have said it a long time ago, that I was proud of you. He finally looked her in the eye. So I'm saying it now. I'm proud of you, Emily, for having the guts to walk away when we made you feel like nothing, for building a life on your own terms, for refusing to back down. Tears were streaming down her face. Thank you. Can we try again? Your way, slowly. But can we try? Yeah, we can try. The flight back to Paris was quiet, lost in thought. Her family wasn't fixed. Deep wounds don't just vanish. But they were trying, and trying was the whole game. How are you doing? Alexander's voice was gentle. Cautiously hopeful, she whispered, resting her head on his shoulder. And that's a hell of a lot more than I've had in a long time. You got my back. Always. And just like that, the semester wraps up in freezing mid-December. Emily watches her students drop their final projects, and they are straight fire, insane, creative work that makes her chest swell with pride. Marie instantly scores the gig with Arno, starting in January. 3 others get snatched up by major Parisian kitchens. The rest, they're either leveling up or launching their own damn businesses. You're a natural at this, Claire tells her at the final party. This teaching thing, they hang on your every word. Because I actually listen. They're the reason any of this ever meant a damn thing. Emily scans her new crew as they network with the industry heavyweights Claire pulled in. I want to run it back. Maybe in the spring? I was counting on it. What if we make it official? A guest lecturer spot. You build the curriculum, teach when you can, and we'll get subs when you're gone. It was the perfect play, the kind of flexibility she didn't even think to ask for. Yes. 100% yes. Christmas in Paris was a low-key, epic affair. Just a small dinner party at their place with Sophie and her wife, Arno, and his partner, the new inner circle. They cooked together, got a little too into the wine, and Emily felt this insane sense of belonging she'd been chasing her entire life. Speech! Sophie's voice slices through the laughter right after dessert. A 7-layer chocolate beast Emily had slaved over for 2 days. I am not giving a speech. Speech! Speech! The chant is undeniable, so Emily gets up, feeling like a total goofball but also full of love. Okay, fine, I gotta say thanks. 6 months ago, I was bawling on a curb at my sister's wedding, feeling like the most invisible person in the planet. And now, I'm here, with people who actually see me, the real me, not the useful version or the acceptable one, just me. So, thank you for making Paris home. To Emily, Arno says, raising his glass, and the whole room echoes it. Later, when everyone's gone and they're cleaning up, Alexander puts his arms around her. I got something for you, he whispers. We said no gifts. This isn't a gift, it's an investment. He hands her an envelope. Inside, a stack of legal papers that takes her a hot second to process. And when she gets it, her hands start shaking. You bought the building next to my bakery? I bought the space next to your bakery, he says, super calm. The plan is to lease it back to you if you want to expand. A teaching kitchen, maybe an event space. Whatever your next move is. His hands land on her shoulders, holding her steady. You kept saying you wanted more. I'm just giving you the space to build it. Emily is totally floored. All she can do is stare at these pages, holding a future she'd only dreamed about in secret. Why? Is all she manages to get out. Because your whole life, they told you to dream smaller, and I am so done watching you shrink yourself to fit in their little boxes. He lifts her chin. Build something huge, Emily, you've earned it. The kiss was her answer, a whole novel she couldn't speak. Thank you. I love you. You get me. Don't ever stop getting me. When they finally break apart, out of breath, he rests his forehead against hers. Marry me, he says. Emily jolts back, completely blindsided. What? Marry me, not now, not tomorrow, someday, when you're ready, when you've built everything you want to build and you're absolutely sure that this is what you want. His eyes are locked on hers. I love you. I love who you are right now, and the person you're gonna become. And I just want to spend my life watching you become her. Well, that's not a very romantic proposal, and she chokes out, No, but it's a real one. The tears are flowing now. Ask me again in a year, after I prove to myself I can build all this without losing me, when I know I can be a partner, not just another project for you to fix. Deal. Alexander gently wipes her tears away. 1 year, then I'm asking. And I'll probably say yes. I'm counting on it. Spring hits Paris with its usual explosion of life. Emily teaches her second class like a seasoned pro, manages the bakery expansion from across the ocean with Jenna, and starts plotting a program to fly Houston students out for summer boot camps. She calls her family once a week. The calls are awkward at first, but little by little, they're learning to talk to each other, not just perform their old busted roles. In April, Destiny hits her up. The girl graduated, got a full-ride scholarship to culinary school, and wants Emily's advice on her next move. I keep hearing your voice, Destiny wrote, telling me to build something that matters, not just what people expect. I want that. But I'm scared I'm not good enough. Emily reads it 3 times over. The fear never goes away, she finally types back. You just get used to doing it scared, and good enough is a cage other people build to keep you small. Aim for what you think is excellent, and stop asking for permission to have big dreams. You're already good enough. Now go prove you're brave enough. In May, Emily flies back to Houston for 2 weeks to launch the expansion. The new spot is bigger than she imagined. A pro-level teaching kitchen, an event space for 50 people, and a real office. Jenna's already hired 2 people and is booking events 3 months out. The bakery itself is a certified legend with lines down the block every morning and a rep spreading across the entire Houston food scene. You did all this, Emily says, totally blown away. Nope. We did this, Jenna fires back. You laid the foundation, I just built on it, and now we're making something neither of us could have pulled off alone. They co-teach the first workshop to 15 bakers starving for Emily's French techniques and Jenna's business hustle. It's pure, beautiful chaos. I think this has to be a regular thing, Jenna says after. Monthly classes, different topics. We could build a whole program. That's a crazy amount of work. Good thing there are 2 of us, Jenna grins. Plus whoever we hire. You taught me to stop thinking so small, boss. Emily flies back to Paris, her brain on fire with ideas. Alexander's at the airport with flowers and that signature smile that still knocks her sideways. How'd it go? It was perfect and insane. I think we're building something huge. Emily takes his hand as they walk. How are you with long-distance consulting? Jenna needs help structuring these new programs. And you're the only brain I trust with it. I think I can pencil that in. Their summer is a whirlwind between Paris and Houston, mashing together a life Emily never thought possible. Oh, one where she didn't have to slice off parts of herself to fit, where she could be a teacher and a student, and a boss and a girlfriend, all at the same damn time. In August, her family visits for a week. It's still a little awkward, with old wounds popping up, but they're trying. Her mom actually compliments her apartment. Her dad watches a class and gets misty-eyed when her students give her a standing ovation. Melissa asks about her life and actually listens to the answers. It's not perfect, but it's a start. The night before they leave, Marcus pulls her aside. "Thank you," he says. "For what?" "For not completely ghosting us, for giving us a shot to be better." His hug is quick and weird, but it's real. "You were right about everything. We're lucky you even pick up the phone." "You're getting there," Emily tells him. "We're trying. We're learning that saying you were wrong and actually changing are two totally different things. We're working on the second one now." Later, after they're gone, Emily and Alexander are chilling on their balcony, looking out at the Paris lights. "How are you feeling?" he asks softly, grateful, wrecked, hopeful. Emily leans on him. "Like I might finally be building the life I was supposed to have all along." "You are." He wraps an arm around her, and it is spectacular to watch. A year later, almost to the day, Alexander asks her again. It happens in Houston, in the brand new teaching kitchen after a killer class. The room's empty except for them, lit up by the afternoon sun. "Emily Dawson," Alexander starts, and her whole world shifts as he drops to one knee right there on the flour-dusted floor. "You are a genius, and you're ridiculously stubborn. You care way too much about everything and feel things deeper than anyone I've ever met. You build empires from nothing, and you pull everyone around you up with you, and you make me want to be a better man." He looks right at her, putting it all on the line. "Will you marry me?" Emily looks at this man, the one who saw her when she was completely broken and loved her anyway, the one who championed her when she couldn't even see her own potential, who gave her the room to grow, even if it meant she might grow away from him. And way later, when he asked, it just felt completely right. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I'll marry you." The ring he slipped on her finger was simple, classic, perfect. They called their real family Jenna and Sophie, the ones who'd been in the trenches with her. They popped champagne Jenna had been saving for exactly this kind of moment. "I knew it," Jenna said, crushing her in a hug. "The way that man looks at you, it was always gonna happen." 6 months later, they got married in Paris. A small affair, just them and their crew. An intimate dinner, not the hollow, massive spectacle her family would have demanded. It was the quiet, perfect start of her new life, her new empire. Her mom cried, which was a plot twist nobody saw coming. Her dad actually let her have her moment without making it about him. A miracle. With her real friends by her side, Emily felt for once like she wasn't just performing for her family. She was just living, messy, awesome, imperfect. The years that followed were great, but not perfect. Old drama would pop up, and she still had to fight the urge to shrink herself for people who didn't deserve it. But now she had armor, she had a team, and she had this deep down, rock-solid belief that she was enough, exactly as she was. So get this. Sweet Haven Bakery didn't just get bigger, it basically became a full-blown culinary command center. A place training everyone from rookies to certified pros. Emily starts running ops in 2 cities, Houston and Paris, a total whirlwind of teaching and baking that was about building an empire, not just pretty cakes. She started scouting young chefs, bankrolling students who couldn't afford the training, and basically building an army of loyalists from kids like Destiny, all the talent but none of the cash. And her family, the one that always put conditions on everything, they started showing up for the wins, the losses, all of it. They'd ask stuff and actually stick around for the answer, slowly, and I mean painfully slowly, learning to respect the powerhouse she became instead of the puppet they wanted. And Emily, she was taking her sweet time deciding if she'd even let them in. 5 years after she bolted from Houston in that yellow dress, mascara running down her face like war paint, she's standing in the kitchen she built from the ground up, just taking in her kingdom. Her recruits are training, they're laughing, screwing up, and trying again. She sees a business that only exploded after she stopped trying to solo the entire raid. She sees a crew, the one she was born into and the one she handpicked, that finally gets her. That's when Alexander, her right-hand man, slides his arms around her waist. "What's the master plan?" he whispers. Just how much the game has changed. How I almost didn't get on that plane to Paris because I was terrified to make myself the main character. Emily leans back into his hug. What if I never went? What if I just stayed a low-level scrub? But you didn't. You bet on yourself, even when it felt like the scariest damn thing in the world. And you built this entire life from that one insane gamble. He kisses her head. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too, Emily says, and the words hit like a critical strike to the soul, because that was the real final boss battle. It wasn't the booming business or the power couple marriage, or even her parents finally bending the knee. It was Emily at last, 100% believing she deserved the ground she stood on, that her ambitions weren't a joke, and that she was worthy of a loyalty she didn't have to bleed for. For 28 years, she played like a ghost, convinced she was both too much and a total failure. And then she chose herself. Everything that came after, the bakery empire, the training grounds, the ride or die love, the family finally learning their lesson, it was all just loot drops confirming she made the right play. Emily Dawson was no longer a ghost. She was perfectly, chaotically, awesomely visible. And being seen like that, it was worth every single scar she got climbing to the top.